Part 269. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2692. Shuang, this broke the Xin-base system of the planet and prevented us from searching for Lord Jiayan. This is what we should end up with. Hey, don't be too happy too early. If the news we are waiting for is known to the white dolphins, I'm afraid it will be the white gods. Afraid of eggs. We are also outsiders. The more we fight, the stronger we get. Maybe if someone from the divine system comes, we may be able to break through. There were 3 figures, 2 of them were indistinguishable from humans, and the other was a huge one-horned creature that made mountains look up to them. However, their strength is similar, and all of them are concentrated in the starry sky level, which is not a short distance away from the venerable level. But if anyone knew about their cultivation time, they would definitely be surprised. Because the total training time of these 3 figures does not exceed 1 year. He rose from extremely weak to a starry level star within a year, and anyone would be called a genius. But such a genius is now being chased and intercepted, with masters attacking frequently, chasing them to the sky and nowhere. It's not that no one treats them as treasures, it's that the 3 of them don't regard themselves as treasures. Yes, in the eyes of outsiders, the 3 of them are destroying their own futures and committing suicide. Who asked them to attack Xin-Bei Temple? Among them, the human man who first appeared in the eyes of the Xin-Bei Temple was the most exaggerated. In order to obtain information about the other 2, he directly took action and demolished all the Xin-Bei temples on the entire planet. As a result, after entering the starry sky, a large number of the masters of Xin-Bei Temple and the masters working for Xin-Bei Temple intercepted and surrounded them. What was even more exaggerated was yet to come. Originally, the pursuer thought that no one would be crazy like him. After chasing him, this lunatic used the information he obtained to inexplicably attract 2 other lunatics. These 2 lunatics were exactly the same as him and were extremely hostile to Xin-Bei Temple and the masters under Xin-Bei Temple. The 3 of them joined forces, and for some reason, they had the vague ability to fight against the venerable level existence. This frightened everyone and sent more masters to stop them. Today, these 3 people are stuck on an uninhabited Death Star. Everyone looks up and looks extremely cold and arrogant. No one surrendered. It's a pity that we were a little too impulsive and failed to meet up with the adults. Do you think there will be problems with our real bodies if this body dies? It's possible, but unlikely. As long as you don't die, it doesn't matter if you are mentally injured. I will wait outside. The world will open one day. When the adults go out, I will destroy the whole world with one blow and watch them go crazy. The 3 of them chatted as if no one was around, and what they said made the strong men surrounding them angry and funny. These 3 lunatics are talking nonsense again. Crazy guys, your end is today. Be careful. Although these 3 lunatics are crazy, they are powerful, and each of them has the ability to kill enemies beyond the level. Don't let them kill a few people before they die. Hey, our 6 great sages are here, are we still afraid of these 3 starry sky level ones? They want to drag us to death together, but they don't have the ability. The 3 lunatic figures looked at the strong men surrounding them like idiots. Others say they are crazy, but they are the ones who see the pursuers as crazy. These pursuers have really never seen a strong person. If they were allowed to see the true form of themselves and others, these guys would be sure to piss themselves off, and they would be able to stare them to death with just one look. The 3 of them thought arrogantly. This kind of wild look even before death made the pursuers furious. No need to waste any more words, kill. Those who insult Bashan will definitely die. The pursuers' eyes suddenly became sharp, and one by one they drew their weapons or used special moves. Even though there were 6 great sages surrounding him, they were not careless in the slightest. Because long before today, there had been an experience of 2 great sages chasing down these 3 people. As a result, One of the two great sages died, and the other one fled in panic. The three of them jointly beat one to death and the other to injury. Everyone knows that these three lunatics are arrogant, but they have the capital to be arrogant. Not all of the sages among the pursuers were loyal to the Zinbei temple. At least more than half of them wanted to uncover why the three of them were so powerful. As long as we grasp the reason for their strength, maybe these sages can try out their skills too. The eyes of all the venerables were filled with murderous intent and greed. Come here, we all look like extremely weak people. Didn't you expect that our bodies will perish in the hands of such a being? We are unwilling to do so. It's too weak. It could have blown them all out with just a breath. It's just that we were exposed too early. Who brought us to this kind of starry sky? There's nothing we can do about it. The three lunatic-like mid-level warriors in the starry sky sighed helplessly, and then their eyes became equally sharp. They would fight with all their strength. And based on their abilities, they were confident that even if the three of them died, they would be able to fight to the death of all the strong men present. Even if the adult behind the stand can reduce the number of enemies he has to deal with in the future as much as possible, it will be helpful. The three figures seemed to gradually merge and turned into a black energy body, working side by side. It's that joint strategy again, be careful. Is it comparable to a venerable? No, even more powerful than an ordinary venerable. Damn it, these three guys have become stronger again. We must kill them all at once this time, otherwise they will be a disaster if they stay. The six great sages, together with about 20 or so starry sky level powerhouses behind them, plus the ordinary soldiers in the battleship, a total of 3,000 to 4,000 people, comparable to the scale of a small interstellar war in the outside world, faced the three besieged lunatics. The strong ones attack and kill. Boom. The collapse of the Earth and the collapse of the Earth are not enough to describe the battle at this time. The rules of this world are not perfect to begin with, and the battle here even caused the void to tremble. Huh. A 3-meter-long tiger with a completely black body was riding on a high-end tourist business spaceship. He was enjoying the massage by the waiter, and he made some sounds of surprise and uncertainty. The spaceship soon ushered in waves, everyone was in shock, and the ladies screamed endlessly. "Sir, it's the strong who are fighting. What a terrifying power." The tigress lady who helped with the massage was in shock. "A strong one? He's really strong, even at the level of a venerable, interesting." The big black tiger smiled handsomely and calmly. "Sir, we'd better hide, huh?" "Sir? Where is the sir?" The beautiful tigress lady was about to invite the handsome black tiger guy to take refuge in her room. Unexpectedly, she lowered her head and saw that the handsome black tiger guy had disappeared. She was stunned. The big black tiger, which disappointed the young lady, had already turned out of the spaceship and calmly crossed the void towards the area where the battle exploded. For ordinary strong men, a battle that needs to be avoided is, for him, a non-dangerous area. Of course, he was not a nosy person, but felt some familiar feelings in the fluctuations of the battle. If it feels wrong, he won't get involved at all. But the closer he got to the battlefield, the more joy appeared on his handsome black tiger face. Sure enough, it's a bit like the joint fighting method that adults taught us. Although there are many changes, the core is not much different. They must be the same. Tisk, tisk, is this strength only for the starry sky level? It's too weak, how can you practice it? 3 people working together can't even kill 6 venerable level ones. The big black tiger smiled sarcastically as it faced the battle sound waves and entered the fighting area. "Who? A strong man is here. Your Excellency, this is where our Zinbei temple arrests suspects. Please don't interfere." The 6 venerable level beings have always been wary of troublemakers from the outside world. The giant black tiger appeared without any obstruction, immediately attracting their attention. "I won't interfere, I'll just take a look. Black Tiger entered the battle circle with a smile, and his eyes flickered for a moment when he saw the three powerful men trapped in the center of the battlefield. The three powerful men looked at him suspiciously. Can't see through? Everyone present, including the three powerful men who were surrounded, tried their best to see through the Black Tiger who suddenly appeared, but no one could see through his true strength. No, this time, they couldn't help but gasp. It's okay if the starry sky level can't see through it, but even the 6 venerable levels can't see through it, so that's a bit of a stretch. Could it be that he is a venerable master who is good at concealing his strength? It can't be a high-level existence like a venerable. You must know that the high-level masters of the venerable are called the invincible realm in this world. Any invincible realm that exists is the pinnacle existence of the entire world. Unless the gods come, they will be invincible in the world. You go on, don't worry about me, I'll just take a look. The Black Tiger came to the edge of the battlefield, found an area where it would not disturb the fighting as much as possible, crawled down, and just watched. How can one continue with this? The faces of those great venerable beings were sinister. Your Excellency, please don't be joking. Being an enemy of Zinbei Temple is asking for trouble. A venerable master with an extremely ugly face scolded the giant Black Tiger in a threatening tone. Oh? Are you asking for trouble by becoming an enemy of Zinbei Temple? Then, will anyone die? The giant Black Tiger looked as carefree as before, and asked calmly and indifferently. Of course people are mortal. To believe in the White Temple is to believe in the orthodoxy of the creation God. If you are an enemy of us, you are an enemy of the creation God and will not be tolerated by the world. What a God of creation! Who is the God of creation? He says he is, does that mean he is it? It's ridiculous. It's okay if you don't say so. The more you say so, the more I will become your enemy. Why should I bear with you? The Black Tiger stopped crawling and moved lightly, arriving in front of the three mad masters and blocking their way. The three starry-level powerhouses were dumbfounded. Then, the giant creature with one horn looked at the back of the Black Tiger, and then felt the aura coming out of him. His eyes gradually became dull, and after a moment, he cursed. I'll go. It's this old guy. Do you see it? The other two people heard his yelling, and their expressions were startled. Then they released their senses together and carefully felt the Black Tiger's back for a moment, and they all couldn't laugh or cry. It turns out it's him, the old guy, pretending to be a ghost. Haha, old guy, your strength is pretty good, how did you practice? The three powerful men in the starry sky revealed their friendship with the Black Tiger creature, which immediately made the besiegers no longer easygoing. Humph, since he is an accomplice, let's round him up and kill him too. The strongest is only a high-level venerable. We and the 6 venerables are supported by a large army behind us. The 4 of you will definitely die. Do it? It's just a few hundred words away, you'll be able to see it after the official version is refreshed in an hour. The faces of those great venerable beings were sinister. Your Excellency, please don't be joking. Being an enemy of Zinbei Temple is asking for trouble. A venerable master with an extremely ugly face scolded the giant Black Tiger in a threatening tone. Oh? Are you asking for trouble by becoming an enemy of Zinbei Temple? Then, will anyone die? The giant Black Tiger looked as carefree as before, and asked calmly and indifferently. Of course people are mortal. To believe in the White Temple is to believe in the orthodoxy of the creation God. If you are an enemy of us, you are an enemy of the creation God and will not be tolerated by the world. What a God of creation! Who is the God of creation? He says he is, does that mean he is it? It's ridiculous. It's okay if you don't say so. The more you say so, the more I will become your enemy. Why should I bear with you? The Black Tiger stopped crawling and moved lightly, arriving in front of the 3 mad masters and blocking their way. The three starry-level powerhouses were dumbfounded. Then, the giant creature with one horn looked at the back of the black tiger, and then felt the breath coming out of him. His eyes gradually became dull, and after a moment, he cursed. "I'll go. It's this old guy. Do you see it?" The other two people heard his yelling, and their expressions were startled. Then they released their senses together and carefully felt the black tiger's back for a moment, and they all couldn't laugh or cry. It turns out it's him, the old guy, pretending to be a ghost. "Haha, old guy, your strength is pretty good, how did you practice?" The three powerful men in the starry sky revealed their friendship with the black tiger creature, which immediately made the besiegers no longer easygoing. "Humph, since he is an accomplice, let's round him up and kill him too. The strongest is only a high-level venerable. We are waiting for the 6 great venerables, and there are a large army behind us to assist you. The 4 of you will definitely die. Do it. It's just a few hundred words away, you'll be able to see it after the official version refreshes in an hour." Ghost. "Haha, old guy, your strength is pretty good. How did you practice?" The three powerful men in the starry sky revealed their friendship with the black tiger creature, which immediately made the besiegers no longer easygoing. "Humph, since he is an accomplice, let's round him up and kill him too. The strongest is only a high-level venerable. We and the 6 venerables are supported by a large army behind us. The 4 of you will definitely die. Do it." A few hundred words are missing, you can see the original version after an hour refresh. Also surround and kill. The strongest is only a high-level venerable. We and the 6 venerables are supported by a large army behind us. The 4 of you will definitely die. Do it. It's just a few hundred words away, and you'll be able to see it after the original version refreshes in an hour. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2693. The 6 great masters had different levels of strength. 3 of them couldn't even speak a word, so they cut them off and died. The other 3 were also bleeding like crazy, and their energy was like gossamer. I am afraid that only one of them could survive after being seriously injured. Of course they don't have that chance. Under the horrified gaze of everyone, young master who waved his next claw. Pi. The 3 great sages, who had been so angry just now, were hit by this blow so much that their bodies burst into pieces, their aura dropped crazily, and they died immediately. The other starry sky levels that surged to the side were affected by the energy of this claw, and each one fell apart in horror, turning into the most basic particles of the world and disappearing into thin air. This is a unilateral massacre caused by being too powerful to surpass the other party. This. Walk. Further back, the commanders of the warships and spacecraft that had just opened their weapon racks were in danger and terrified. They blocked the attack order and retreated to escape. They had no choice but to escape. For them, they were just here to make a fool of themselves. They couldn't handle the task of dealing with the venerable level. What's more, they could still kill 6 venerables in 2 strikes, plus more than 20 starry sky level ones. A peerless master? This level is probably difficult to explain even to the venerable level. Want to escape? You can't escape. Under the fearful eyes of everyone, young Master Tiger swaggered out and trampled on the top of a battleship. In an instant, there was only a loud roar, the battleship was destroyed, and air waves bloomed in all directions, affecting a large number of surrounding battleships, causing a chain reaction. In response, there were bursts of explosions. There is sound in the starry sky and universe of this world, which can make people's eardrums hurt and their chests will burst. Under such a display of magical power, the entire group of battleships was ignited, and no ship could escape. They burst into pieces and exploded, turning into dust in the starry sky. This old, senior, is he so scary? I feel like I'm watching a Star War outside. How could he get to this point in such a short period of time? Nonsense, he must have woken up earlier than us. We can't say this in front of him. Now that he is stronger than us, if he beats us, Master Jia Yan may not be able to help us. After the turbulent battle, young Master Tiger flew up without being humble or arrogant, escaped from the energy vortex, and returned to the three high-level creatures in the starry sky. He was watching the three powerful men carefully and marveling at them. You three are too weak. As subordinates of that lord, it took so long for you to reach the starry sky in this world. If the Lord finds out, I'm afraid he will be extremely disappointed with you. He is not deaf, he is far away, but with his current strength, it is not a problem to hear these three people muttering about him. So while you can still suppress these three guys with your strength, you must try your best to ridicule them, otherwise they will catch up. Well, it seems that it will be difficult for them to catch up, because even in the outside world, he is stronger than these three guys. A subordinate, because he is also a domain lord level and is late a senior of the same clan. No matter where they are placed, there is a huge gap between the four of them. Why can't I take the opportunity to ridicule them? Haha, yes, senior, our talents are too poor. Senior, please give me a few kind words in front of Lord Jia Yan. In fact, it's not that we neglected our cultivation, but that we woke up too late. Since then, we have been in a desperate battle with no resources at all. The three of them did not argue with each other, they just shared their bitterness while talking and laughing. They are really poignant. The point is that one of them did something wrong when he first woke up, that is, he killed the senior officials of the Zinbei temple who attacked his own race. You must know that he was a junior Earth level person at that time, and he killed people. Being hunted. Then, I don't know whether the three of them were lucky or not. The first strong man on the run fled directly into the starry sky and encountered a one-horned monster on another planet. The two almost started a fight, but after feeling the strange energy, quickly recognized each other. Immediately, the two had another brawl, and the chasing team suffered heavy casualties. But therefore a larger army and stronger men were dispatched. In this way, by the time the two met the third person again, they had been hunted for about a year. Although their strength was increasing slowly, it was only for the living beings in this world, not for Master Hu and for Jia Yan. It was extremely slow, because they, the powerful foreign warriors, had stable power and could reach the top of the world without any barriers. It's your bad luck. Well, now that I have found you, you don't have to live such a life anymore. Just follow me to see the adults. Young Master Hu smiled and shook his head. Looking back, a dark and cold crack opened. While leading the three people to step into the crack, he still felt a little regretful. It's a pity, the little beautiful tiger who just helped with the massage is quite beautiful. It would be nice if I could give myself another half day. Hey, this idea cannot be known to others, and what I have done during this period cannot be known to others, otherwise I will be laughed to death. After entering this world, he actually turned into a young creature with strong vitality and blood. It makes people miss him so much, ugh. Of course, no one knew that this young tiger was getting stronger and stronger. He led three newly recruited powerful subordinates from Jia Yan's army and flew to the underworld. Soon, without notifying Edisha and the other two, he traveled to the Xian Shen Star Castle. In this castle, the three creatures met a young man. Although the appearance of this young man was very different from the adult they imagined, his temperament, sense of energy, and faint smile made them instantly recognize that this young man was exactly what they had been waiting for. That adult. I've met Lord Jia Yan. Long time no see, sir. I finally got to see you, sir. We haven't seen you in recent years, and we miss you so much. The three of them rolled to the ground and wanted to kneel down, but were blocked by a strong force. I said, here I don't need so many red tapes. It would be great if you can come back to me. Judging from your appearance, you have suffered a little, right? Jia Yan made the three of them unable to kneel down with a smile, and then listened in a good mood to the three of them telling how they were hunted down by people from the Zinbei temple, and how they showed great bravery and almost killed the 6 great sages who were chasing them. Young master who ruined a good thing. Young master who was dumbfounded by the whole process, and he almost slapped the guy who was talking nonsense on the spot. Good guy, I call him good guy. I won't save you next time. Despicable and shameless people. Jia Yan nodded and smiled. How could he not know that the strength of these 3 subordinates should not be able to deal with the 6 sages, otherwise he would be in such a mess. But I don't want to point it out. Now, when we first meet, it's normal for everyone to make a joke to resolve the embarrassment. Just know it well. After the laughter, the relationship quickly returned to the way it felt in the outside world. The 3 powerful men were also given some guidance by Jia Yan. They corrected some mistakes in their cultivation and gained a deeper understanding of the origin of the world. After one day, you will enter my secret room to practice. Last time Qingling, oh, it was Sis who came back. Her strength is not much different from yours now. It only took her 3 days to break into the Venerable. I hope you won't miss her too much. Jia Yan used the most unpretentious words to express the most helpless request for these people. 3 days to enter the Venerable level? It seems a bit difficult to do. These 3 powerful men are also at the galaxy level in the outside world. Speaking of which, their talents should be equally excellent. But it depends on who you compare with, let alone Jia Yan. Even if you compare with Narzi's, it is a bit difficult. Sis, before Jia Yan, the evolved beast, appeared, he was known as the top genius in the nearby star field. Some even said that he might surpass the Zerg Queen in the Zerg territory. Of course, it turned out that he failed to surpass the Queen, and soon after him, the newly born evolutionary beast Jia Yan, with his rocket-like training speed, completely overshadowed him, and even now the tail lights of the car are no longer visible. To the level. But this does not prevent the 3 of them from knowing that the 3 of them cannot compare with Sits. Ahem, Lord Jia Yan, we will try our best. If we cannot do it, we will guarantee that we can enter the Venerable level within a week. This is our confidence. They couldn't do it in 3 days, but the 3 of them could still do it in a week. Even if they hadn't seen the energy form in Jia Yan's secret room, it didn't prevent them from making a judgment. Because there is a lot of difference between Sits, but there is no way it is more than twice the difference, otherwise they would not be galaxy level. Okay, I'll be outside, waiting for your good news. Jia Yan watched with a smile as the 3 powerful men entered the secret room. After the 3 of them entered the secret room, Jia Yan's smile became even more obvious. Young master who next to him also noticed Jia Yan's mood, but he himself also smiled brightly. Lord Jia Yan, although these 3 guys are not strong enough now, they have reached the Venerable level and are 3 more powerful ones that can rival the White Gods. Our strength has been greatly expanded. Congratulations, sir. Jia Yan shook his head and said with a grateful tone, I have to thank you, Mr. Hu. If you hadn't been wandering around outside, I wouldn't have been able to find Qingling and the 3 of them in time. It's you who deserve the most credit. Thank you for your hard work. Ahem, it's not hard work. It's my duty to work for Mr. Jia Yan. Young master who was embarrassed for a moment, and he swore in his heart that he would find less tiger ladies later, otherwise he would not be worthy of Master Jia Yan's respect and appreciation. Lord Jia Yan, I will go out for a walk again and check if there is any abnormal movement on the planets on the front line. Go ahead and pay attention to your own safety. If you encounter someone from the White God Department, don't fight fiercely. Their support system is still faster than ours. Thank you, sir, for reminding me. While speaking, young master who opened the crack in the underworld and rushed into it. The crack quickly closed and the breath inside disappeared. Jia Yan here took a long breath, and then he felt leisurely. He picked up the teacup and sipped it calmly. "My lord, let me bring you some tea." The woman dressed as a maid who walked in outside the door was none other than Xia, the leader of the Princess Lin female knights, who was no longer responsible for combat work after the planet was pacified. Time passed bit by bit, and Xia changed. She was no longer the Xinhe descendant she was when she was rescued by Jia Yan and the others, nor was she like a slave with no confidence, but an extremely confident, independent and strong female leader. She even read a lot of books. She wanted to catch up with Jia Lin and the others and make her life more exciting. Jia Yan smiled and nodded, letting her serve tea and water, still in a daze. "It has been 2 years since I came to this world. In the past 2 years, to be honest, his physical strength in the outside world has not increased at all. But this does not mean that 2 years have been wasted. But in the past 2 years, Jia Yan inexplicably felt that his mood had improved. For example, the interaction with family members in this world on the mother planet, helping the Xinhe kingdom to attack other countries, seeing the ecology of countless people, the impact of countless wars on people's livelihood, and later coming to the Xi and Shen planet to rescue Xia and other Xi, and the descendant of the black man went to major cities, met with many organizations, individuals, groups, etc., and experienced countless different aspects of life. These were all reasons for his improvement in mood. In the outside world, it would be difficult to experience this, because the planets are extremely far apart, and there are many uncertain factors, such as whether there are strong people sitting in charge, etc. It is difficult for me to experience so much in a short period of time, but in this world, everything is different. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe after an hour, refresh in the official version, and this chapter will be released completely. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the official version. Time passed bit by bit, and Xia had changed. She was no longer the same person she was when she was rescued by Jia Yan and the others. The descendants of Xinhe no longer look like slaves with no confidence, but an extremely confident, independent and strong female leader. She has even read a lot of books. She wants to work hard to catch up with Jia Lin and the others and make her life more exciting. Jia Yan smiled and nodded, letting her serve tea and water, still in a daze. "It has been 2 years since I came to this world. In the past 2 years, to be honest, his physical strength in the outside world has not increased at all. But this does not mean that 2 years have been wasted. But in the past 2 years, Jia Yan inexplicably felt that his mood had improved. For example, the interaction with family members in this world on the mother planet, helping the Xinhe kingdom to attack other countries, seeing the ecology of countless people, the impact of countless wars on people's livelihood, and later coming to the Xi and Shen planet to rescue Xia and other Xi, and the descendant of the black man went to major cities, met with many organizations, individuals, groups, etc., and experienced countless different aspects of life. These were all reasons for his improvement in mood. In the outside world, it would be difficult to experience this, because the planets are extremely far apart, and there are many uncertain factors, such as whether there are strong people sitting in charge, etc. It is difficult for me to experience so much in a short period of time, but in this world, everything is different. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, refresh in the official version in an hour, and this chapter will be released completely. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the official version. Factors, such as whether there is a strong person in charge, etc. It is difficult for me to experience so much in a short period of time, but in this world, everything is different. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, refresh in the official version in an hour, and this chapter will be fully released. Thank you to those who subscribed to the original version. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, refresh in the official version in an hour, and this chapter will be fully released. Thank you to those who subscribed to the original version. Everyone, you are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2694. That's right. I didn't expect that the person who understands me best is actually my enemy, haha. Since both sides come with a desperate attitude, let's fight for it. Jia Yan is indeed still a new powerful person. He didn't understand so much until he entered this world space for so long. Otherwise, when I first entered the world, felt a new life, and saw a lot of ways to rise from other subordinates, I should have thought of this. This is a promotion technique that a strong person will come up with after reading poetry and books carefully. Generally, it is a single strong person who uses it for himself, such as creating a world, and the strong person enters and grows in it. In the end, he either destroys the world, or leaves it as a thought, or integrates it into himself and becomes part of the energy. In short, there are still many domain lords or powerful people above domain lords who are using this technique. Due to his age, Jia Yan is still a little behind in his vision. Of course, it cannot be generalized. Before he went to the central star field of the Milky Way, he did look like a country bumpkin. But when he traveled through the central star field of the Milky Way, especially the northern superstar and other places, his vision was not too weak. In some aspects, even many domain owners cannot match it. It can only be said that he has never tried to deduce how other strong men were promoted. The war on the Xi and Shen planet has long been extinguished. Countless Xi and Bai temple masters, as well as the feeble-minded who firmly believed in the white god, fell to the butcher knife of the black god army. This place has passed the moment of panic and entered a new era brought about by Edisa technology. Countless people have enjoyed new technologies and technologies that they have never dared to think of in the Black Temple where Black God himself sits. Life. But what no one knows is that the Black God himself doesn't usually like to live in the temple. Compared to the bustling temple, he prefers to live in the castle here. The so-called romance is also the cause of the killing. Young Master Hu, don't indulge yourself too much just because you have re-entered your young body. I understand. Please take care of me, Master Jia Yan. I will keep it in mind. Today was another day when young Master Hu came to report on his duties, but this time when he arrived, Jia Yan looked at him with a half-smile and made some mocking remarks. Young Master Hu made a big blush. Fortunately, no other colleagues were present, otherwise he would have really wanted to find a hole in the ground and crawl into it. So old guy, you actually have this hobby, you are so disrespectful. With a rumble, the door of the secret room was opened, and 3 strong men with earth-shattering auras stepped out. At this moment, Master Hu's dark face could not help but bloom with a blush, and he really wanted to run away. Okay, don't laugh at others. The 3 of you might not have done any good things yourself, just half-assed. Jia Yan was really afraid of making Mr. Hu angry, so he quickly opened his mouth to smooth things over. In fact, he had no idea that Mr. Hu, a serious person who was still an old-timer to the outside world, would actually like that kind of thing after he was out of his sight. In the past 2 days, he thought that young Master Hu was really loyal and ran out to look for him every day. Soon he found 3 colleagues, which greatly increased the strength of Jia Yan's subordinates. So, he wanted to give young Master Hu a surprise and flew out of young Master Hu's meeting. I wanted to visit him at the gate of the present world and commend him by the way. As a result, he saw this guy having a heart-to-heart fight with 2 or 3 tigresses. Jia Yan was stunned and his vision exploded. This guy is not doing anything serious at all, he is just having fun. Considering that everyone has hobbies, Master Hu's achievements are absolutely indelible, so he didn't expose it on the spot, but just ran back to the castle dumbfounded. Today, while young Master Hu was reporting on his work, he spoke out and hammered it out. In the following time, Mr. Hu, who had been very favored recently, remained silent. Jia Yan and 3 subordinates who had exceeded their strength were talking loudly, and he disappeared like a transparent man. I'm so embarrassed that I can't talk. Putting aside the shameless young master Hu, Jia Yan looked at the three new subordinates whose strength had been greatly improved and couldn't help but praise them. Very good. In 6 days, you have all been promoted to the first level of the Venerable. Although this speed is not as fast as Qingling, it is definitely not slow. Now I have a lot of top combat power under my hands. I hope you will continue. Keep up the good work, and I have discovered that this world is not only for me, but also for your external bodies. I hope you will seize the opportunity. The three subordinates and young master Hu all looked thoughtful. Among them, the unicorn giant, a horse-like creature about 5 meters in length, nodded. Master Jia Yan made the right point. I also have some feelings about this promotion. It seems that in this world, we can get no less than the actual experience in rebuilding it a life insight. The integration of the two experiences after going out, may pave the way for us to become stronger. Is that really true? I also have a vague feeling. It turns out that this is a realization. Several other people, including young Master Hu, were also a little happy. Before today, although they had felt that this period of thinking in life would be of some help to them, they did not expect that Jia Yan would personally bring it up. This was no small matter. After thinking about it carefully, they suddenly realized. This space is said to be the place where two powerful men, Jia Yan and White Dolphin, compete against each other, but the effect of perception is not limited to just the two of them. When other powerful people from the outside enter, they will still have insights here, because the design rules of this world are used to do this. They were thoughtful, but in fact, Jia Yan had not broken through the deeper things. If a strong person at this level could not even see through this, then the territory lord would be hopeless. Not long after, the four subordinates all had venerable level strength, especially Tiger Master, who reached the semi-star level, accepted Jia Yan's new mission, and then entered the underworld space together and left in the air. Jia Yan, on the other hand, was sitting on a recliner, looking at the scene outside the castle with a young and mature look. It's raining today, the rain is pouring down, and the rain is pouring down, which is eye-catching. True or false, it's actually life. If you are here, it is true. Time is passing here, isn't it? Jia Yan, who was used to seeing strong winds and waves, could not help but doze off a little in this extremely comfortable climate. After yawning for the whole day, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. Real sleep or fake sleep? If you think you are really asleep, then you are really asleep. If you think you are fake sleep, then you are fake sleep. There are so many truths and falsehoods in life, so why bother? Jia Yan slept soundly, but something incomprehensible in words was growing. Far away in the Nyoda space of the White God realm, the handsome man transformed by the White Dolphin gently raised his head and looked at the distant sky. Have you realized this? You are worthy of being my chosen opponent. This duel is becoming more and more interesting. But, I won't lose. I have a backup plan. Even if you have a chance to win, I won't lose. This is my truth. Not being reasonable is just a kind of truth. The things white dolphins do are inherently unfathomable. He saw a chessboard placed in front of him, and on the chessboard, there were a large number of moves, one of which belonged to Jia Yan, and among the other moves, there were also subordinates from both sides. Between the two sides' moves, there is a rather unique chess piece, Concubine Kun. You think he is a chess piece, why doesn't he think you are a chess piece? True and false, false and true. At the stage of senior domain master, the behavior and the game between the two parties are no longer limited to physical combat. Otherwise, it would be too low-end and too simple, losing the majesty and ability of the strong. Sometimes, it is not impossible for a war to break out and last for a long time, using wisdom and various means. White Dolphin is using his own experience to demonstrate to Jia Yan the true fighting method of a senior domain lord. Of course, no one knows whether Jia Yan will learn it after he demonstrates it, and whether he will go out and fight directly with his body as before. Others are other people's choices, but Jia Yan has Jia Yan's own choice. Of course, after entering the home court of the White Dolphins, if people want to play, Jia Yan can't do it step by step. If you want to play literary or fantasy, I will accompany you. Whoever wins in the end will not affect my mentality. This is the true senior domain master. At this moment, Jia Yan sighed, because of the difficulties of Master Hu. After searching, we found 4 more right-hand men, including Qing Ling. Each of them, after reaching the primary level of the Venerable, has combat power that surpasses the top masters in the world, and has reached the level of the divine system. As long as they are given a certain amount of in time, 4.5-star level members of the God system will surely appear. Therefore, the power Jia Yan could use suddenly increased. And the group of subordinates who left Jia Yan's side after receiving the order actually went to the place where Jia Yan ordered them to be more aggressive. For example, some planets have been illuminated by the light of the White Temple for a long time, and even have deep roots. For another example, some planets that are regarded as the hinterland also have a human-looking subordinate Jia Yan who comes to travel. He may not do any violent acts, but it is inevitable to place the gate of the underworld here. Infiltration, as well as the other party's counter-infiltration, has recently begun large-scale operations. Creak, creak, creak. Suddenly, the young man who was bathing in the pouring rain outside the window woke up from his dream. I know who wakes up first from a big dream. I feel really comfortable sleeping this time, but it's time for the rain to stop. Jia Yan smiled and tapped the sky with his fingertips. I saw the gloomy sky that had just been full of wind and clouds, and suddenly the wind and clouds changed. The dark clouds quickly retreated and left, and endless sunlight shone down on the earth. The entire land, which had been ravaged by heavy rain for a long time, finally returned to a washable blue color. Some people even screamed in surprise among the people below. After all, no one expected that the violent wind and rain that had lasted just now could turn into blue sky in a few seconds. Everyone was surprised to see this. Of course, for the strong, this kind of method is nothing, but it is scary. Jia Yan just pointed at it casually. It didn't seem like it was done with energy. On the contrary, it seemed that there was a vague way of speaking. Feeling casual. In this world, I have 10% of the power in it. It is not difficult to do this. However, the White Dolphin went a little too far. During this period, they did a lot of tricks to block my control of energy. It is only today that I gradually realized this level of understanding. Haha, what a white god. Jia Yan straightened up. A little brilliance bloomed on his majestic face. If we talk about the previous black god, his energy has reached the level of a strong man, which makes him look like a god. So now that he has understood the purer use of the world's black energy, it is understandable to say that he is a god. Ordinary strong men, in front of him, don't even need any energy to make a move. The power of stirring up the world itself is enough to kill them. Presumably, that White Dolphin guy has also mastered this kind of power. He didn't fight me with this kind of power last time. Well, arrogance is your business. If I have a chance, I won't have the slightest intention to kill you. If you hesitate, the worst thing you can do is break this world and go to the outside world to continue fighting. Jia Yan is different from the White Dolphin. He originally considered himself to be a Wufa with no background. He was not as young as others, and his knowledge was not as good as others. This was a flaw. If you want to fight, you can, he will accompany you, but he will not reason with you, nor will he. What about humility? If they really fight, he will beat you to death, regardless of whether you are a clone or your real body, you will win one by one. If there is a fierce battle when you go out, then if you continue to fight, the best possibility is to kill you here. Winning is his ultimate philosophy. This is also called using force to defeat skill. It's been a long time since I visited the immortal cultivation planet, and I don't know how Qingling is doing there. A few days have passed, and the progress should be good, right? That little cat demon is quite fun. I wonder if Qingling starved to death. Haha, I just happened to go over and have a look and feed the cat. After some understanding, Jia Yan's demeanor seemed to be slightly different, and he didn't think too much. Thinking of where he was, he tore open the space in an instant and shuttled out to the underworld. The underworld realm. It is also a place that Jia Yan rarely observes carefully recently. After breaking through the underworld, because this world was designed by Edisha, there were almost no secrets and dangers for Jia Yan, so he let Edisha and Jia Lin manage it. No matter how much trouble is made, it is unlikely to cause major problems. Now that he came here again, he found that this underworld was very different from what he had originally imagined. The entire underworld has long been different from the chaos it was at the beginning. The names of the Lord of Hell, Edisha, and the God of Death, Jiolin, shine in all directions, and even the most marginalized souls know the names of these two gods. But unlike Jia Yan's belief that the underworld that accommodates souls should be dark and gloomy, after it was managed by the playful and lively Edisha, it gradually became less of a gloomy place and instead gradually gained a sense of vitality. Tall buildings are rising in the underworld. Because the soul has outstanding workability, it rarely feels tired, so it is extremely efficient with diligence. Towns, big cities, and even technology trees that are different from the outside world are all highlighted. The rules of technology here are different, but Edissa has it easier, because she designed the rules herself, and it was natural for her to develop by leaps and bounds. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2695. Rebirth of the starry sky giant mosquito. Tisk tisk, especially the city near the Palace of Hell. Isn't this a super big city? Jia Yan looked up and saw that the two goddess temples of Edisha and Jiolin were surrounded by big cities. They were like huge satellites guarding the two temples. They were even larger than the two vast temples. Bustling with soul residents, more than millions of people. There is no need to consider the population issue of the underworld. After Edisha's underworld became regular, a large number of souls after death poured in, and the vast land was almost full, so there were such a large number of cities. Can this population become a future combat force? Jia Yan suddenly thought of this question. Editha's nonsense is nothing but nonsense, but from this point of view, it seems that she really has something to take advantage of. Even if the population in the underworld is not that of the outside world, it is at least 1/3 or more. If we really want to unleash our combat power, no, even if it only needs to become a logistic base, it will be of great help. Well, before going to visit Qingling, you can go and sit with Edisha. I haven't chatted with these two little guys for a long time. I don't know how crazy they are. In fact, Jia Yan had already thought that these two little brats would go crazy. But he still underestimated the madness of these two people. Yes, even Jia Yan underestimated their naughty energy. When Jia Yan arrived at the Palace of Hell was having a party for singing songs. Yes, it's the kind of party where everyone gathers together and sings earthy songs. He was dumbfounded, watching from a distance as Edita twisted her plump little butt, twirling and having fun on the stage. The lights flickered, shining on her little butt, twisting and turning in a rhythmic way. My mother! Jia Yan almost cursed and immediately raised his forehead to his head. Looking at the other end, the person who creates the rhythm for Edisha's DJing is none other than Jiolin, her cheap little girl in this world. The audience below are all workers in the temple, and they are all souls. There are many souls guarding the gates of the present world, and there are also the gods of death who transport souls to the present world in the temple of death. They also got high and had a party. These two little guys are ready to turn all the people in their two major temples into two large groups of lunatics, a group of lunatics serving the gods. Jia Yan could imagine that if he hadn't intervened, this hell would have lasted only a few decades, and the whole country would have gone crazy. No one knew what the final outcome would be. In short, it will definitely not be good. Besides, how dignified. Jia Yan had no choice but to take a step forward, and in the next moment, he came to Edisha's side and grabbed the astonished little kid with one hand. Behind, Jia Lin was so frightened that she stopped, but the other bass drummers and others had no idea what was going on and were still adjusting the rhythm according to the scene. This is called professionalism. They thought this was an arrangement made by the Lord of Hell, Edisha. Ah! Edisha screamed, and when she found out it was Jia Yan, her face showed a little panic, and she wanted to quibble about something. But Jia Yan didn't give her a chance and just hit her on the bottom. Ah! Ah! It hurts. Well. The beat was also very rhythmic. Edisha held a big microphone in her hand and screamed, but the rhythm was still full. Jia Yan was speechless and said, "Let's all disperse. We are not allowed to hold similar activities in the future. Isn't it a joke to the public?" His words were filled with the power of the Black God. In an instant, everyone in the entire scene changed their expressions, realizing how terrifying this power was, and their faces became ugly. Then I realized that indeed, the young man who beat Lord Yama was probably even more powerful than Lord Yama. And who is the person who is stronger than Lord Yama and dares to beat Lord Yama unscrupulously? Black God. One of the creator gods. I've met Lord Kurakama. I can't wait any longer. This is all what Lord Yama asked us to do. Let's leave now and never come back next time. All the workers looked frightened and nervous, and they filed out one by one, leaving the gathering place as if they were fleeing. Elder brother. Jia Lin smiled apologetically, wiping off the messy paint on her face and approaching in shock. She was afraid that Jia Yan would also spank her. Ugh. Eddie lay on Jia Yan's lap like a dish, not daring to resist. She actually knew she was wrong, but she still wanted to do such a fun thing before being stopped. Unfortunately, it was only the 15th Tuhei Carnival and it was stopped. That's right, this is the 15th session of the Tuhei Association. Every day there is a session in the different temples, one in the Temple of the King of Hell and one in the Temple of Death. Okay, it's so exciting that I have no time to play. You two seem to be living very comfortably here. I am considering whether to take you away to the real world. Otherwise, no one will care about you, and you will learn bad things here. Jia Yanyun put down Edisha calmly. No, there are a lot of things going on in the underworld. Jia Lin's reaction was more intense than that of Edisha. It seemed that she had really found herself here. I don't want to go back either. Edisha will work well here. Edisha nodded wildly and walked to Jia Lin. The two looked at Jia Yan as if they shared the same hatred. Well, these two little guys have learned to resist. Also learn how to ally and help each other. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? No, come back with me in 2 days. I will let you stay here for a while and go back for a few days. Otherwise, you will be completely wild. How can you behave like this? Jia Yan said coldly and waved his sleeves. Brother is arbitrary, Jia Lin said angrily and bitterly. That's right, be arbitrary, Edisha parroted angrily. Anyway, I'll go out first and take you with me when I get back. Jia Yan glanced at the two of them, then flashed again. When he appeared, he was already at the gate of the living world. He looked back at the two of them, saying to stop making trouble, and then jumped into one of the gates of the living world. Wow! Your brother is so bad, it's so hard to hold a festival. Edisha jumped to her feet. That's right, how about we close the door to this world so that he can't come back? We hold festivals not for ourselves, but to stimulate the economy and liven up the atmosphere of the underworld. Brother doesn't understand this. Jialin was also furious. After listening to the bad ideas proposed, she was already better than her old friends, even more daring than Edisha. Don't, this will really ruin things, Edisha muttered. On this kind of big issue, she is pretty decent, and is much more reliable than Jialin, who is neither light nor heavy. Oh, okay then. Jialin nodded, and then she and Edisha fell into distress. They have fallen in love with the underworld that allows them to dominate. No, let them make their own changes. It's so fun here. Everyone regards them as heavenly beings and they all take orders. It's good, but they will be restrained when they go back. Not only Jia Yan himself, but also the subordinates around Jia Yan dared to scold them, and they were all stronger than them. Not going back. Don't want to go back. How about, we run away from home? The underworld is really big. Jialin suddenly had another bad idea. Okay, let's go right away. Edisha jumped up in agreement and her eyes lit up. After discussing the matter, the two little guys quickly ran to their palace dormitory, packed their things, brought a lot of food and drink, and a moment later, under the complicated gaze of their subordinates, they were carrying several tons of materials on their backs. Soaring into the sky. Ran away from home. Jia Yan didn't know that Edisha and Jialin were doing strange things again, but he believed that, leaving Jialin aside, Edisha was still reliable. In addition to having a strong childlike personality, she would do whatever work was assigned to her. Over. He has already passed through the farthest door in the world, stepped out in one step, and arrived at the planet of immortality filled with immortal energy. When I first arrived in this world, I still had not recovered from the anger caused by two naughty children in the underworld. I immediately had dog food to eat. I saw two figures coming and going like lightning, flying around each other in mid-air, clinging to each other. From time to time, they would touch each other intimately and then caress each other. Just barely kissed her. Jia Yan cursed angrily. Damn it, this scene makes me think of my wife. You two are really unworthy of each other. Don't you know how to be shameless? People who cultivate the world of immortality should not be conservative. For disturbing my Kingxiu, get out. Jia Yan suddenly cursed and roared in the forest below. A man and a woman who looked like a couple of gods in the sky were blown away by the loud shout. The two fairies with fluttering clothes flew far away. The woman was so frightened that her face turned pale, and the man's face turned pale. White. I'm sorry, Senior, I didn't mean to offend you. The two of them were about a kilometer apart, clasped their fists in the sky and saluted, then looked at each other, and without daring to continue showing off, they directly drew their swords and flew away one after the other. Tisk, tisk, let me eat dog food. But these two people seemed to be from two sections. How did they get together? Jia Yan then flew out of the forest and looked at the two leaving figures without thinking too much. Because he punished the little brat and separated the two men and women who fed him dog food, Jia Yan felt much better. After he thought about it, a large amount of silk flew up from the ground, and instantly gathered itself, turning into a fitting ancient costume, which he wore instantly. With fluttering clothes, he looks like a heroic young man from ancient times. Why didn't you think of doing this last time? Why did you go shopping for clothes? How embarrassing. Jia Yan smiled. Of course it didn't matter. He looked for direction from the sky, and then flew straight towards where Qingling's aura was. On the way, he deliberately looked for some food that cats could eat, including game and the like. If you say you are here to feed the cat, then you are here to feed the cat. Whatever problems Qingling has, she will solve them by herself. If she has cultivated to the point where she is almost invincible on this planet, and there are still problems that cannot be solved, then it means that she is a genius. That's all. Jia Yan will never take action. It's so scary. Who is that person just now? It's impossible to see through his realm. 200 kilometers away from Jia Yan's departure route, the two men and women stopped escaping and looked at each other with lingering fear. The two seem to be golden boys and girls, but they are actually the top leaders of two sects, and both of them have their own Taoist companions who cultivate immortality. That's right, the two of them are not Taoist couples, but they are cheating. They had clearly used immortal magic and Taoism just now to clean up many living beings around them and drive away the locals. This place became their meeting place. Why would a powerful person with such terrifying strength appear? Jin Lang, tell me, will this person reveal what happened to us? You may, don't worry. I just realized that this person's direction is not ours, and he must have nothing to do with our section. In addition, he doesn't seem to be a person who would do such a thing. This level has long been extraordinary. If you are unrefined, how can you get involved in our affairs? That's right, Jin Lang, but in order to avoid trouble, we'd better not meet each other recently. See you again in half a year, Jin Lang, I will miss you. Sister Yu, I will miss you too. It hurts my heart to think that we can't see each other for half a year. Jin Lang, my heart hurts too, but for the sake of our future, we have to endure it, okay? Woo. A pair of mandarin ducks cried and cried in the air for a long time before they separated. Tisk, tisk, these two guys, don't you know that after reaching a certain level of strength, hundreds of kilometers are like their own yard? If you want to cry, go away and cry. I have heard it. It's disgusting. On Jia Yan's side, he was flying and spat in a very unlucky way. I thought I was just feeding myself dog food, but I didn't expect that I was eating shit. These two guys can be so beautiful when they are cheating. It makes me sick just thinking about it. He wanted to kill them both at will, but after thinking about it, Jia Yan stopped. There is a difference of a few hundred words. You will be able to see it after the original version refreshes in an hour. Book friends who do not have an official subscription are asked to subscribe to the original version. Even if you make up the full subscription, it does not cost a lot of money. Thank you. You may, don't worry, I just realized that this person's direction is not ours, and he must have nothing to do with our section. In addition, he does not seem to be a person who would do such a thing. This level is already otherworldly, how can he get involved with us? Thing. That's right, Jin Lang, but in order to avoid trouble, we'd better not meet each other recently. See you again in half a year, Jin Lang, I will miss you. Sister Yu, I will miss you too. It hurts my heart to think that we can't see each other for half a year. Jin Lang, my heart hurts too, but for the sake of our future, we have to endure it, okay? Woo. What a pair of stealing mandarin ducks, crying and crying in the air for a long time, and then they left. Tisk, tisk, these two guys, don't you know that after reaching a certain level of strength, hundreds of kilometers are like their own yard? If you want to cry, go away and cry. I have heard it. It's disgusting. On Jia Yan's side, he was flying and spat in a very unlucky way. I thought I was just feeding myself dog food, but I didn't expect that I was eating shit. These two guys can be so beautiful when they are cheating. It makes me sick just thinking about it. He wanted to kill them both at will, but after thinking about it, Jia Yan stopped. Several hundred words left, wait an hour. The address of the latest chapter of Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky. Read the full text of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito at Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito text download address. Rebirth of the Star Sky Giant Mosquito mobile phone reading. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click collect below to record this reading record, chapter 2642 Feed Me Shit. New volume, new atmosphere, and you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2696. Your alertness is still not high enough. I have been eavesdropping here for a long time. Jia Yan entered Xin Chen Hall and started to accuse. Sir, what kind of strength are you and what kind of strength am I? Can I find that you are already very good? Qingling felt a little bitter. Didn't I let you discover this? Jia Yan went to the main seat and took the delicious food on the side, the so-called fairy fruit. His mouth was full of oil after eating it. Adisha has been talking about coming to your place to eat for the past few days. It really makes sense. Qingling watched Jia Yan eat 2 pieces of fruit, but she couldn't hold back her doubts and expressed a certain guess. Master Jia Yan, I just heard that there is a young man who has mastered a path similar to Yin and Yang Dao. I wonder if he is. Yes, it's the inheritance I left here casually. You can do whatever you want. If he blocks your way, then kill him. I'm just doing it on a whim. That cat demon should have mentioned this to you. Speaking of here, where is the cat demon? Jia Yan looked around, feeling a little suspicious. Cat demon. Qingling hesitated to speak. Jia Yan was surprised and said, no way, you really roasted her and ate her? This thing shouldn't be delicious, it's poisonous. He was a little surprised and confused. Qingling should not be this kind of person. The cat demon is an intelligent species after all. Eating this thing feels a bit barbaric. Of course, even eating it is normal. There are too many intelligent creatures in the Milky Way. Some races just like to eat another race. In their local area, it is like a tradition. They are not the same race, so what's wrong with eating? It's like if a GD person eats a FJ person, he will feel sick. This is a member of the same race and cannot be eaten. Master Jia Yan, what are you talking about? I don't have such strong taste. Qingling rolled her eyes angrily. Not to mention, after becoming a woman, Qingling's personality has changed a bit. It's fine if she didn't eat. What happened to her? I brought some food for her this time. It would be a pity to die. The snacks Jia Yan was talking about were the beasts he had beaten, but they were actually not bad things. Since they were fed to the cat demon, they must have some so-called aura, and they were extremely hidden and quite powerful demons. Beasts and the like. Sir, the cat demon seems to have been subdued by that young man. I don't know the specific situation. When the last battle was getting more intense, I asked her to go out to help the army. Unexpectedly, she continued to fight. She got involved with that young man, and the message came back that he would help her, so I didn't care about it. Jia Yan was stunned. I'm sorry, the young man I brought the opportunity to is really the protagonist of the world. Is it true that the cat demon has been practicing for hundreds or thousands of years, but he ran away and was seduced? He thought for a while and stared slightly. The entire planet was almost completely under the attention of his current body. Soon he found the cat demon who was in an army of young people. The young man who was beaten was also in the military camp. But now, he has changed from a shotgun to a cannon. He has put on a handsome fairy robe, his strength has improved by leaps and bounds, and there are many beautiful women around him, including the cat demon. Edi Niang. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. What kind of era is this? This kind of protagonist is no longer popular. He looked at it and saw that it was nothing. These girls should have joined the young man's team because of various relationships. There was nothing specific about it. For example, the cat demon turned out to be a coincidence in the hands of the young man. A demon inner elixir was lurking beside the young man, trying to get it. And she knew that this young man was most likely given the opportunity by Jia Yan. If he stayed with him, his safety would be no problem. After all, she saw with her own eyes that Jia Yan left the opportunity to this young man. Huh? There seems to be, oh, maybe I feel wrong. When the cat demon was talking to the young man, he was suddenly shocked, and then shook his head inexplicably. Just now she thought someone was observing her, but when she looked carefully, there was nothing there, so she must have made a mistake. Jia Yan, on the other hand, calmly restrained his observation ability. This cat demon is quite keen. Does it have a cat's intuition? In addition, the inner elixir she wants to get is probably not as good as what I can feed her. Forget it. Jia Yan was helpless. He felt that the young man should be a son of the plane or something. There were more than a group of girls around him. There seemed to be some strong masters in the army he formed. Thinking about it this way, the road to rise has been extremely bumpy. Master Jia Yan, do you want that cat demon to come back? Or should I kill her? Qingling asked in confusion. She didn't even know why Jia Yan wanted to tease the cat demon. Of course, if she were an earthling, she would probably be interested in these cat monsters, snake monsters, and monkey monsters. Jia Yan shook his head. Forget it, I'm just interested. I came here to have fun. By the way, I also saw two men and women who made me feel a little disgusted. Do you know them? Now that I think about it, something seems wrong. Jia Yan changed the subject, otherwise Qingling would not know how to answer if she asked questions about cats, monsters, snakes, etc. He traced out with a single finger, and there was a place where some kind of power quickly gathered in the sky. Qingling's eyes lit up as she saw two figures appearing quickly in the air. She couldn't help but marveled. Master Jia Yan, have you ever practiced immortality? This spiritual energy control method is so powerful. Jia Yan shook his head. I have never cultivated immortality, but to me, the energy of this world is nothing more than a variation of my power or the power of the white dolphin. Even the immortal cultivation system is the same, so it is easy to master. Qingling nodded. In fact, she had guessed that. The above words just made Jia Yan feel flattered. Even talented and strong people will be flattered. Soon, a figure floating in the sky appeared. Qingling looked at these two people. They seemed to be young men and women, but having grown up in the world of immortality, she knew that these two people should not be too young. I don't know these two people, but the clothes they wear are familiar to me. Aren't they the clothes of the largest sect in the Song Kingdom next door, and the women's sect in the Li Kingdom further away? It is said that these two sects have always been at odds with each other. They are actually. Jia Yan nodded. These two people are having an affair. Of course, it has nothing to do with us, but what makes me speechless is that they both said that they have a Taoist couple, that is, they are both married, but they are having an affair. It's unpleasant to watch. Huh? Is that so? Huh, I have known for a long time that in this world of immortality, there is a lot of benevolence, righteousness, and morality, but in fact, many things that happen are disdainful to the powerful people in the outside world. No wonder I vaguely think that although they seem to have strong principles, they have not yet reached the stage of reaching the highest level of cultivation. Jia Yan nodded. He couldn't refute Qingling's statement. This is actually the case. This world seems to be the world in Jia Yan's imagination, and the world of immortality is also the data he provided. However, the world created by using various laws and stories in the world of immortality is almost the same as the world of immortality that may actually exist. Almost the same. The problem of moral corruption is probably much greater in the world of immortals who talk about benevolence, justice, and morality than in the Milky Way galaxy where the powerful people in the universe are. The strong men in the universe only pursue strength. In a sense, they are a very pure group. They become stronger quickly and very simply. But the world of cultivating immortals is full of all kinds of great principles, but there are countless people who are destroying these great principles. they are the ones who are talking about the collapse of rituals and the destruction of music. How can such people be compared with the strong system of the universe? He smiled and said indifferently, "Okay, don't be so unhappy. I'm just asking. I can't stand this kind of existence, but I won't object to this kind of thing. After all, for us, similar things we've seen too many things, and if they don't affect our plans, we don't need to worry about them." Wait. Qingling frowned and suddenly took out a piece of information. Jia Yan was startled and looked at the information in her hand. The information in Qingling's hands quickly turned into patterns. For immortal cultivators, there are quite a lot of bells and whistles. Of course it's quite useful and intuitive. In the picture, several people in white robes, similar to the sect costumes worn by the previous man, came together and chatted happily. However, the scene quickly changed to the one in which the man in white robe discovered that someone was recording something here, and struck with a palm. The painting was flat and broken, but I'm afraid the other party didn't expect that the last time Adisa came here, this picture could be transmitted over long distances. So Qingling got the information from the spies at that time, and she was a little interested, but she didn't care that much. Now that I see the costumes of that sect again, I thought about it for a while before I remembered it. Huh? The man's martial arts clothes, and the person they came into contact with was. Jia Yan was stunned for a moment, then his eyes sharpened. Because the people in white robes that the man came into contact with were the same people who wore the white god religion that was opposed to the black god religion, that is, the believers in the white god temple. Is this sect actually related to Xinbei Temple? In this case, we cannot underestimate this information. It seems that this sect and Li Guo are gradually getting closer. Maybe it is the person I saw. Some kind of means. Jia Yan was quick to think of things, and he quickly thought that the disgusting thing between a man and a woman might be him using this method to win over Li Guo's immortal world. And their sect itself is related to Xinbei Temple. Behind the Xinbei Temple, White Dolphin and other gods stood. After saying this, Qingling also reacted directly, her eyes revealing a strong sinister look. She doesn't care about other sects, but if that sect is in contact with the Xinbei Temple, it also uses various methods to make friends with other sects from other countries, and even uses the dirty methods that Jia Yan saw with his own eyes, then, it has to be taken seriously. Sir, if they even use such a method, it means that they are not using any means. It may be that the Xinbei Temple has discovered me, otherwise these sects will not be allowed to use similar methods. Qingling blurted out. Her brain was also very useful, and she quickly thought that the Xinbei Temple might have discovered her existence. In other words, they had discovered that Jia Yan's tentacles might have reached the planet, so they were using extreme methods to rob the planet's future. This matter needs to be taken seriously, and it is even possible that the first wave of large-scale wars of gods will occur on this planet. The geographical location of this immortal planet is too important. Whoever occupies this place will occupy a vital geographical location. Yes, so you also need to improve your progress as soon as possible, but at this stage, you should try to avoid direct conflicts with them. The overall strength of Bashan should still be stronger than ours. If you are exposed, I am afraid you will be. If the gods are chasing you, you will either be seriously injured and captured, or you will have to escape from the planet. Jia Yan said solemnly. As for why Bashan didn't take action directly? The reason is very simple. I'm afraid they don't have conclusive evidence. Seeing Jia Yan's methods on this planet, if the gods are sent for no reason, but it fails, the loss of morale and energy, as well as the mobilization of personnel, all are big problems. There are fewer people coming, and they are also afraid that there is an ambush on Jia Yan's side, and if they are all captured, they will suffer heavy losses. If more people come, the defenses in other places will be empty. If they are taken advantage of, they will suffer heavy losses. They may even be divided and attacked. resulted in the defeat of the first battle of total war. Therefore, the people on the White Dolphin side did not dare to act rashly. At least they will not act rashly before judging the correct information, so instead of coming directly to the gods, it is better to let the temple, which still has the overall advantage, directly encroach on the planet. Whether it is annexing the planet or attracting Jia Yan's manpower, it all means they get a small advantage. Yes, I will achieve my goal as soon as possible while hiding my identity. Qingling's face was as cold as ice. If the matter did not involve the Xinbei temple, they would not take it seriously no matter how they fought on this planet. But after the Xinbei temple was involved, the seriousness increased a lot. As the Xinbei temple who can dispatch gods at will, if Qingling is accidentally exposed, the gods of the Xinbei temple may come to kill her personally through magic transmission in the next moment, although she is sure to resist an ordinary god. What if there are 2, or even 3? Then she would have to escape through the underworld, the planet would be lost, and the black god system would suffer a huge direct loss. Since they are playing big and disgusting, I'll give them some ingredients. Jia Yan is not the kind of person who lets his subordinates face strong pressure and remain indifferent. He said he was gaining insights into life, but watching his subordinates fall into crisis was not his style. Well, let me relieve you of some pressure in other aspects. Jia Yan smiled, with a little sparkle in his eyes, and looked at the sky where the fairy spirit was fluttering. There are dozens of words missing. Please subscribe to the official version. The official version will be refreshed in 5 minutes. Bulletin U prefers to make up for book friends who have fully subscribed. Thank you all. There are dozens of words missing. Please subscribe to the official version. Pass. It only takes 5 minutes to refresh the original version. By you prefers to fill in the book friends who have fully subscribed. Thank you everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2697. Since I want to relieve some pressure for Qingling, then we need to operate something in a more critical place than the cultivating superstar. Otherwise, it would be impossible to do anything for Qingling. After Jia Yan finished talking to Qingling, he no longer stayed, but when he left, he took away half of the spiritual fruits, spiritual wine, and spiritual tea from Xin Chen's section. Step into the cracks of the underworld. Jia Yan is still thick-skinned, especially since this is his subordinate and not an outsider, so he can just take it. Fortunately, when he returns to his residence, he has experienced the addiction of the immortal cultivators, and he may also let some immortal cultivators on the Xian planet come over to have a taste and shock them. Of course, we don't have that time now. After Jia Yan traveled back to the underworld, he looked at the Hall of Hell and the Temple of Death. Well, he found that the 2 little brats were not there. After that, a submissive lieutenant came out and tremblingly told Jia Yan the message the 2 little guys had left for Jia Yan. Running away from home? Are you still playing with this thing? Jia Yan was speechless. But after being speechless, it didn't matter. There are not many powerful people here in the underworld, and they have been assigned to Edisha and Jiolin in name. No matter how they run away from home, they always feel like they are in their own back garden. Of course, this back garden is very big. I'm afraid it's as big as hundreds of Earth's surfaces. Even if it's this big, it doesn't matter. They won't be in danger, so just let them go crazy. Now that I have something to do, I will go back and deal with the 2 naughty kids with itchy buttocks. Jia Yan directly stored the gadgets he brought back in the Palace of Hell, and then looked for a few doors in the world. After thinking about it, he entered through a certain door in the world. The door of the present world that he entered was also close to the door of the present world of Xiaoxian Star. This meant that this door was also on the edge of the area affected by the underworld, almost on the front line. It's just that the 2 sides seem to be close to each other, but I'm afraid they won't be anywhere close to the cultivating superstar. That's right, the area where Jia Yan drilled was thousands of miles away from the cultivating superstar. One is on the eastern front of the battlefield and the other is on the western front, which are very different. Here, Jia Yan has already obtained first-hand information, and Edisha seems to be at ease here, establishing a lot of influence here. Normally speaking, the planet outside this door is on the relatively front line and should be within the scope of influence of the Xinbei Temple. It is not so easy to succeed. But there is an exception to everything. What is known now is that in this artificially designed world, about 90%, or even more than 90%, of the power belongs to the White God. This is why most of the planets in this world are under the sphere of influence of the Xinbei Temple. But everything is different. The power of the Black God is only about 1/10. This tenth may seem small, but its influence in some areas is still extremely broad. For example, the planet drilled by Jia Yan, as well as several major planets near this planet, all belong to the sphere of influence of the Black Temple. Yes, it's the Black Temple. After Jia Yan was born on his home planet, he rarely saw the Black Temple. He thought that the home planet where his body was originally born was because he was going to be born there, and Edisha deliberately placed the Black Temple. The temple and the Black Country. But today, after he got out of the underworld passage, he directly felt the Black God faith that was even stronger than on his home planet. He was surprised. For the first time in so long, it was a refreshing feeling to be on a planet dominated by the Xinbei Temple. Moreover, visible to the naked eye, this planet's technology seems to be more powerful than other planets. Spaceships come and go, and there are rows of high-rise buildings in the city, with the word advanced written all over it. There is not much difference among the people, except that pedestrians on the street prefer to wear black clothes, and practitioners are shrouded in black energy. Jia Yan held his hands behind his back and flew calmly in the sky. Even if some cities were prohibited from flying, he flew by blatantly. Because his strength is so terrifying, even if there is a flight ban or something, as long as he doesn't let others see him, no one can see him. Without even a little bit of mystery and power, how could he be the Black God that everyone on this planet believes in? Tisk, tisk, I didn't expect to see such a planet. I'm a little embarrassed. So many people believe in me, and I don't know how it feels to have white dolphins countless times more than my followers. Will it really hurt me? Have you become a god? Jia Yan thought with a sneer, flying over a certain city at random. It was just a sigh of relief. Jia Yan didn't think about much else. The system of belief in the Black God on this planet is so advanced that he is not prepared to do anything to destroy it, because there is no benefit. But I can't figure it out. Logically speaking, this planet should not be close to the forces of the White God system. Why can it exist? Could it be that there are more black forces in this area? Jia Yan couldn't understand. The previous development trajectory of this world was actually quite unnatural. After all, it was calculated by computers. If it were a world that developed naturally, I am afraid that if there is such a fish that slipped through the net in the most prosperous place away from Xinbei Temple, it would have been attacked by a group of people, turned into ruins, and then the structure of Xinbei God's power would be rebuilt. Suddenly, Jia Yan saw a hint of different colors in the huge black tide on the planet. White. White Temple. Jia Yan was surprised and confused. Since he believed in his own system, why did the White God Temple get involved? He temporarily forgot about the idea of causing trouble, and first flew to the White Temple below. After all, he came here to cause trouble. He thought this place should be his base camp before and didn't need to care about anything. But now that the White Temple exists, he must understand the reason carefully, otherwise he will easily be attacked from both sides. There is likely to be a magic passage in the White Temple. When the battle breaks out, a guy from the White Temple will magically teleport over and attack you from behind, and you may be injured. So he won't let this happen. Today is destined to be a day of surprise for Jia Yan. Because as soon as he arrived in front of the White Temple building, he discovered a very magical event. It turned out that the White Temple seemed to be opening its temple, and many media, high-level society, and ordinary people came to watch the ribbon-cutting ceremony. What made him even more speechless was that among the senior officials who came, there were actually several people wearing black divine robes. They are people who believe in the Black Temple. This picture is both a bit inconsistent and a bit hilarious. Do the Xinbei Temple and Xinhe Temple, who are fighting to the death in the outside world, actually get along harmoniously here? Congratulations, from now on, there are comrades who believe in the White God on our planet. Although the main gods we believe in are different, believers in the gods are all the same kind. I hope to get closer to each other in the future. The old senior official of Xinhe Temple shook hands intimately with the senior official of Xinbei Temple. Traitors who believe in the Black Temple, you cannot represent our belief in the Black Temple. They are destined to destroy our planet. Some of you must have betrayed. I will expose your affair and powerful transactions. Suddenly, a reporter underneath tore off his clothes, revealing the Xinhe Temple robe underneath, and shouted loudly, "Take her away from me." On the stage, the faces of both parties who were enjoying themselves became gloomy. The senior official of the Xinbei Temple pointed at the reporter. In an instant, several guards from the Xinbei Temple rushed forward and dragged the woman away. Everyone, don't worry about the little episode. There should be no battles between religions and beliefs in this world. Human beings and all major intelligent races should live in harmony, no matter what gods they believe in, whether they are white gods or black gods. Regardless of God, we are all a friendly family, and those who want to destroy today's handshake are the destroyers of peace, and they are sinners who can be punished by everyone. I hope you can all understand the good intentions of the Black Temple. The senior officials of Xinbei Temple stepped out and spoke a great truth, which made the celebrities below nod and clap their hands one by one, and the reporter quickly pressed the shutter. Everyone seemed to agree with what happened at this time. But Jia Yan, who was high above the group of people and came through the air, was silent. He felt that there was such harmony at this moment. The TV station was broadcasting this historic event. Countless people saw the scene in front of the TV media, but the vast majority of people felt similar to the female reporter, and they all cursed. Sure enough, is there such a thing as power for money trading, or is this planet also rotten in some places? Jia Yan's eyes flickered slightly. If this is what he thinks, then he doesn't mind using some means to set an example. Although Jia Yan actually agreed with some of the words said by the two top executives of White Temple and Black Temple. If the so-called gods do not exist in the world, they said so, it would really be a blessing for the people, because many times, when society has developed to the peak stage of scientific and technological civilization, the existence of nothingness such as gods is an important factor hindering development. Only by breaking down the so-called divisions of faith can the entire civilized race move to a higher level. But in this world, it's different. Because here, Jia Yan and White Dolphin are real gods, and the whole world exists for them. The two major gods here will naturally have differences and conflicts. The people from the White Temple came to this planet to develop at this time, and they definitely had bad intentions. Now they believed in each other, and this planet where the people lived and worked in peace and contentment was destined to have a precarious future. Moreover, now that he is here, from a personal point of view, he will not let such a thing happen. After all, this place is also one of the planned frontline base camps of the Black God sect. Damn it, those people who believe in the White Temple are simply too abominable. I want to expose them and let people all over the planet know that they did not come with good intentions. The senior officials of the Xinhe Temple are crazy. Thanks to their belief in Lord Black God, they are colluding with the Xinbei Temple. The senior officials of our city and your police department actually agreed to their entry. You are all crazy. You all have the right to money deal. In a speeding car, the female reporter who was handcuffed to death was yelling curses. The people from the Planet Police around her remained silent and allowed her to curse without saying anything back. The spacecraft, which was originally heading towards the police department, gradually and inexplicably deviated from its direction. The female reporter cursed and looked out the window, finally realizing something was wrong. "You, where are you taking me? Do you want to kill someone and silence me? Let me tell you, all my itineraries have been recorded." The scene just now was also seen by countless people through live broadcast cameras. "Look, there are several cars behind me. The people are chasing after you and spying on you. If you dare to do anything against me, you will be caught tomorrow." The female reporter was a little frightened, with cold sweat on her face and a slightly panicked look in her eyes. "Have you said enough?" The man from the police department who was in the same car had a calm expression. Seeing that the female reporter was frightened, he couldn't help but smile a little disdainfully. Religious disputes are inherently dangerous. That is to say, the people on this planet are used to living ordinary lives, so women like you appear. Before you stood up, did you ever think about it? Your words, how much blood will be brewed, and how much violence will be brewed. You don't understand, you are not even ready to sacrifice yourself, so. The policeman who spoke had a slightly ferocious look on his face, so after a while, you will be the first person to die in this fight. You are very innocent, right? Don't worry, the people will know, but they have no evidence, including the high-level officials of your planet, will not pursue it. The power of our Zinbei temple has already penetrated into this area. The high-level officials of your planet are turning a blind eye to us. It is not just a matter of money, you know me. What do you mean? The police officer was actually not a police officer. Through his words, the female reporter understood. This person is actually from Zinbei Temple. You, how dare you? Also, are the high-level people on this planet actually surrenderers? I will expose you. I will definitely expose you. The policeman laughed loudly. You are still so naive when you are about to die. Forget it, I will reward you with a happy death when you get there. Finally, the vehicle circled around, and the vehicles following it were just civilian cars. They were quickly shaken off, and with various police obstacles and cooperation, there were fewer cars and fewer people watching the police speedster around. They came to the wilderness on the outskirts of the country. Look, even if you are in the spotlight and we ask you to disappear, you still have to disappear. It is your last journey here. The mountains and rivers here are beautiful. We specially selected the place to die for you. Are you satisfied? When they arrived at a place like this, several police officers who got out of the car stopped pretending and looked murderous. On the contrary, the female reporter who had been scolding her before turned pale and could not utter half of the curse words. She was so frightened that her two parts were trembling. She was really scared. I. The female reporter had a complex expression on her pale face, and her words were somewhat hesitant. She seemed to want to beg for mercy, but she also had a sense of mission and was resisting such words. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2698. There's no need for you, me, and me. Let's go. It's in the woods ahead. Your life is over. The disguised police officer pushed the female reporter and led her deep into the woods with a sneer. The female reporter felt dizzy. She was just an ordinary reporter with a sense of justice. She didn't expect that her talk today would put her life in danger. Everyone, it's not good for you to treat a beautiful lady like this. Suddenly, everyone present heard a rather abrupt young man's voice. They were horrified and looked towards the back. The female reporter was slow for a moment, and when she looked around, the police officers pretending to be cruel to her were already falling to the ground. She widened her eyes, looked around at the people lying on the ground, and quickly looked at the owner of the voice. As a human being in this world and a well-informed reporter, she still knows that there are many strong people in the world. Although this planet is dominated by technology, the status of the strong is still extremely high. Has a strong man come? Great, the strong men on our planet still have a sense of justice. The reporters were all in tears and extremely moved. But when she fixed her gaze on the young man who appeared, she was startled again. It's not that I know the young man, but I simply feel that this strong man's face is a bit too young, right? 15. Still 16? Could such a young boy be the one to bring down the tall and powerful men around him? Did you make a mistake? Miss, are you okay? Suddenly, the young man laughed like a spring breeze, making people feel as if they had extremely intimate thoughts about him. Of course, this intimacy is not a wrong idea, but I really think that he is very easygoing and can't help but feel like a family member. I'm fine, little brother, little sir, did you do this? It's amazing. Are you a martial arts practitioner? The female reporter knelt down and tried to find the key to the handcuffs on the person pretending to be a police officer. However, before she could search for long, she heard a slight sound on her handcuffs, and then her hands were freed. Turning his head, he saw that the young man had his fingers stretched out. It was actually he who had moved his hands and feet. This young man is more powerful than I thought. The female reporter rubbed her sore arm, her eyes filled with curiosity and awe. Like most ordinary people in this world, she was full of awe for the strong, but the young man's overly young face made her reporter instinct extremely curious, and she wanted to solve the mystery of the young man's strength. But after all, he was a lifesaver. After saving you, he still pestered you to ask about your origins. It was like checking your household registration. He would definitely be unhappy, so she didn't ask any more questions. Me? I am a martial arts practitioner, yes. Let's get out of here quickly. I feel that their communicator has been automatically activated, and their people may be coming soon. The young man smiled. Following the young man's gaze, the female reporter discovered that the several fake police officers who were unconscious had gleaming sirens lighting up. Sure enough, someone was communicating with them about their location. Walk. The female reporter's hair stood on end as she quickly stood up and walked towards the path outside. Hey, are you just going to walk? If you can't walk far, come on, get in the car. The young man shook his head speechlessly, yelled at the woman to stop, and then got into the police car pretending to be a police officer. Oh, okay, the female reporter blushed, and she realized that this was a wilderness. It would take at least a few hours to walk to the city, and she would be arrested on the way. But, doesn't the car belong to these bad guys? There will be no problem if a young man drives this car with him. It wasn't until she was firmly seated in the passenger seat that she realized another, more serious problem. You are only a teenager, do you have a driver's license? Do you want me to drive? She looked at the young man in horror, looking at him with eyes that absolutely did not believe that he had the driving skills. Don't worry, I just learned, cough, I can drive. The young man almost said the wrong thing, but he had no time to correct it because the female reporter's eyes were already frightened. If an untrained person suddenly drives a flying car, it will definitely cause problems because it is different from ground vehicles hundreds of years ago, because the flying car looks like it is flying in the sky, but in fact it has extremely high operational and spatial awareness. According to the requirements, more than half of the people who take the flying car license test every year fail to pass, precisely because flying cars are very difficult to drive. This young man actually said that he had just learned it. Before the female reporter could say what she had come to say, she felt her body suddenly move. The speeding car left the ground and flew high into the sky, and as soon as it stepped up, the speed was extremely fast, like a rocket, and the speeding car almost fell apart. The female reporter let out a high-frequency scream and thought she was really going to die this time. But after a while, the hovering posture of the speeding car gradually adjusted and turned into a smooth driving. "Don't worry. Isn't this adjusted?" The young man's joking tone made the female reporter breathe a sigh of relief. She opened her eyes and felt slightly dazed. Because today's speeding cars are extremely fast and press on the edge of the legal limit, but do not break through the legal limit, the traffic obstruction devices on the road will not be triggered. What kind of operation is this? Is it really the first time for a young man to drive a speeding car? Why does it feel like he's showing off his skills? The female reporter's teeth were itching. She suspected that some illegal organizations were teaching children to drive speeding cars. If she had a chance next time, she would definitely investigate and expose it. This is the occupational disease of journalists. Sit tight, the pursuers from behind are coming. The young man, or should we say he is Jia Yan now, calmly reminded the female reporter, and then pushed the operating lever of the flying car, causing the flying car to drift at an extremely high speed. The vehicle chasing after them suddenly deviated from an air traffic control channel and was severely warned by a warning device in the sky. But Jia Yan's police car was not warned at all, because the operations of Yuxi Lai were all carried out on the edge of what is allowed by the law. This is the terrible thing about powerful control. It was indeed the first time for Jia Yan to drive such a speeding car, and even the first time to see such a speeding car, but within a few seconds, he could understand the methods and skills of driving such a speeding car, which was better than that of professional drivers. Hundreds of times. Let him drive lawfully, and he can do it, and he can also get rid of the large number of pursuers behind him. Police speedsters or armed vehicles began to surround them one after another. Except for not using weapons, other methods were used. "Miss Reporter, these people are driving illegally, will they be caught?" Jia Yan asked happily while driving. The female reporter was stunned and nervous to death. "Yes, our city's air traffic system is computer controlled. Until the highest level of regulations is issued, they will be judged as illegal." "That's good, hurry up, we're going to have a few legal escape operations next." Jia Yan nodded. The entire speeding car ran at the legal speed and line, passing through the enemy speeding cars, intercepting from the front, drifting into an elusive rhythm. And because it is a road flying in the sky, the upper, lower, left, and right width and height limits are more flexible. Jia Yan can always find a gap to get through where those who block the road think there is no escape. Soon, there were about 30 or 40 cars behind him, and he passed by them lightly. Bang! Finally, a vehicle couldn't help but open fire, and bullets were fired at the police car here. It was obvious that the other party was also a strong man, and the shots were accurate and powerful. But what made him extremely desperate was that Jia Yan used a driving skill. The vehicle was like an extremely flexible air elf, as if it came to life. With a momentary movement, it avoided the warhead of this strong man. Tell the higher-ups that the driver is probably a strong man. Now we are in trouble. The strong man sat back in the car extremely stiffly, and was about to let the driver beside him continue to chase, but suddenly several automatic robots with police logos on them floated down above their heads, with their guns pointed at them. "Illegal persons, because you have violated Articles 184, 179, and 256 of the traffic regulations. The circumstances are extremely serious. You are now notified to accept detention. Otherwise, you will be automatically killed by the police robot. Warning: for the first time, please turn off the engine. Get off the car, second warning." Automatic police robots are quite intelligent, and they know it even if they don't turn off the engine. The strong men present and the other vehicles coming behind them were helpless. If the trouble continues, the situation will get bigger and bigger. Although they are not afraid of police robots, if the situation gets bigger, it will be difficult to deal with it. It is not cost-effective for an escaped female reporter. Forget it, let her go first, and then send people to hunt her down later. The strong man gave up the chase, and he vaguely felt in his heart that the driver in the female reporter's car might be a strong man with good strength. If he and others chased him, there might be danger, so it was better to give up now. Let others do this. The strong man got out of the car silently, looked at the female reporter's car leaving without being blocked by the police robot from a distance, and sighed. It always felt like they were just a little bit close. The two guys who escaped were really lucky. They were stopped by police robots, great. By the way, why weren't we stopped? The female reporter was in the car in front and found that all the pursuers behind her were blocked. She could not help but let out a long sigh of relief, but she was also suspicious. There is no way, this is the reporter's instinct, if you have doubts about anything, you want to get to the bottom of it. Because we didn't violate traffic laws at all, didn't there be an alarm on the car? Jia Yan pointed to the display screen in front of the steering wheel. Sure enough, although the display screen reminded them that they were approaching the police line, it did not violate traffic regulations. What you did just now didn't violate traffic laws. Is that true? The female reporter felt unbelievable. If what she did just now was not considered a violation of traffic laws, how did she get so many violation records when she was at work? In comparison, I have been driving very carefully, okay. Looking at the young man again, he felt that it was not his problem, but the young man's. The data on the screen showed the previous driving trajectory, driving along the warning line throughout the entire process. No wonder the car behind could not catch up. What she didn't know was that it was definitely the first time for Jia Yan to drive this car, and he had no clue about traffic regulations. There happened to be a prompt on the monitor, so he just followed it. There was nothing mysterious about it. Of course, even if you were stopped just now, it wouldn't be a big problem. With Jia Yan's strength, it was impossible for the female reporter to be captured. Now that he wants to take care of this matter, no one on this planet can stop him. Do you have anywhere else to hide besides where you live? Jia Yan asked with seemingly no scruples while driving the car. He knew that this car belonged to someone else, and there might be communication or recording equipment in the car to transmit their conversations and performance to a distant place. But the brainwave power was released, and the machine that wanted to detect his conversation couldn't find anything at all. I definitely can't go back to my home. These crazy guys will look for me, but I have a place that they definitely don't know about. It's in the suburbs. I'll point you there, but this car. It's okay, we can just change it. Change a car? The female reporter didn't understand what Jia Yan said. When she did, she didn't know what to say. Jia Yan came to the ground, found a car, and the car opened automatically. Jia Yan asked the female reporter to take out enough money to buy the car, transfer it to the car owner's card number, and then flew away with the female reporter. Then he went to the next place, and he traded this car with a junk car stall on the roadside, exchanging a good car for a junk car, and then rode a bicycle-like but powerful car, without a license plate, with the female reporter rode slowly in the direction she indicated. You're a kid, so you know a lot about these things. By the way, are you a kid? I don't feel like you. The female reporter sat in the back row, looking at Jia Yan, and suddenly felt a little wary in her heart. After all, she had gone through a lot today, and she would be a fool to remain so innocent. Me? Haha. You just think I'm not a child. Jia Yan laughed, enjoying the pleasure of riding this two-wheeled bicycle. While admiring the green scenery on the roadside, he walked towards the place provided by the female reporter. Not long after, they arrived at the location indicated by the female reporter. It was a good place. They saw an old-looking but charming cabin. This wooden house is the house of a distant relative of mine. She passed away suddenly a few days ago. Before she went, she hung up the phone and told me that this house would be given to me because I was the closest relative she could find. I am concerned about this. I haven't told anyone, and we can't even find our relationship in the family tree, so no one should know. The female reporter took Jia Yan into the wooden house. Sure enough, it is an antique wooden house, old and old, with its own unique temperament. This distant relative of mine has been a lifelong copywriter. There isn't much else in this house, but there are a lot of books. In other words, it was her influence that led me to this line of work. Female reporters are very eloquent, talking about themselves and revealing their own experiences. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2699. While talking, she made tea and let Jia Yan to sit down. After a while, she finally stopped introducing herself, looked at Jia Yan, and said bluntly, "So, you know my origin, what about you? My little savior, can I know your origin?" The corners of Jia Yan's mouth curved, revealing a mysterious smile. "You have said so much just to prepare the ground for asking me questions. You are a pretty good reporter, and you have a strong speaking skills." The female reporter curled her lips. "Have you noticed it yet? Are you going to say it or not? I'm really interested in you. It should be a good news subject. Let me think about it. A mysterious and powerful young man? Are you a genius or a strong person who shamelessly pretends to be a child?" Ha. What she said jokingly made Jia Yan's face flush, almost as if he was blushing. Because he was really right, he was a little brat pretending to be a child. But, he wasn't pretending? Just entering this world and naturally assuming the identity of a young man, is this called pretending? You can't become an old man on purpose. But he didn't explain anything, there was nothing to explain. Originally, Jia Yan could ignore this matter, but when it came to the Xinbei temple, he could no longer ignore it. "This time I came to this area to cause trouble. It happened that Xinbei temple was infiltrating here. Editha and the others found out that this was within their own sphere of influence. How could Jia Yan ignore it? Tell me how these Xinbei temple people came to this planet, how big their number is, and how many high-level officials are colluding with them." Jia Yan brushed off the teasing words lightly and looked at the female reporter with burning eyes. Affected by Jia Yan's gaze, the female reporter felt creepy and her whole body became stiff. This was life-level suppression. Jia Yan did not use the power of brain waves at all. Because this female reporter deserved Jia Yan's respect, he did not use the ability to interfere with the other party's brain. After being shocked for a moment, the female reporter was sweating and became serious without realizing it, and talked about what she had seen and heard before. As a reporter and being invited to participate in this interview, she naturally knows a lot more than ordinary people. After her eloquent talk, Jia Yan knew that the Xinbei temple was making plans in this area recently, and several planets within the Xinhei temple's sphere of influence began to gradually move towards the Xinbei temple. This includes the planet beneath our feet. The influence of the Xinbei temple in this area is too great. The planet's top management did not hesitate to betray the interests of the Xinhei temple. They also moved towards the direction of the Xinbei temple in a seemingly secret, but actually blatant way. One day, I am afraid that there will be a sudden explosion. Since then, the entire area has been brought under the name of Nobashiro Shrine. Anyway, for those high-level officials, the White Temple and the Black Temple are all the same religious forces. They transformed themselves and put on white robes. As heroes of surrender and high-level officials of the planet, there was no loss at all. So, is the evidence conclusive? If you have evidence in your hand, you can tell me, and I will deal with these people based on my own judgment. The premise is that you must believe me. After Jia Yan listened silently, he also came to a final conclusion in his heart. I don't dare to say that I have conclusive evidence, but I can give some real evidence to some of the senior officials. But my dear brother, do you really have a way to deal with them? Don't be conceited in your actions. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. Just take out the list and I'll give it a try. The female reporter was a little shaken, because when the young man said these words, his eyes were extremely confident. She had seen such eyes in the eyes of many high-level people, and the young man's self-confidence seemed to be even more, a more obvious look. What kind of foundation and confidence do you have to be so confident? As a reporter, her occupational disease recurred. How about this, since you are confident, can you bring one more person with you? I want to record your work process. Of course, if you don't have the confidence to protect a weak woman like me, then forget it. Jia Yan looked at the female reporter suspiciously, and then realized that reporters are normal and have some brain problems. People are afraid of trouble, but they like to see trouble because this is their profession. Jia Yan nodded indifferently. If you are not afraid of danger, you can follow me and I will keep you safe. You kept me safe and told me not to be afraid of danger before following. Is it dangerous or not? Alas, but if you want big news, you have to take some risks. Anyway, without your help, I might have died. Besides, I don't have any chance now. There's a place to go, just with you. The female reporter chuckled. As for whether Jia Yan had the real stuff, she felt that he still had the real stuff under his control. This young man had weird abilities, and the most important thing was his incomparable confidence that he could ignore everything. Yes, a female reporter is a well-informed profession. Although her status is not too high, she has met many high-level people from all walks of life and has a lot of understanding of strong people, but she rarely sees such people. Confident people, because they are human beings, will always have some fears or things that they are not good at, but this young man did not give her such a feeling. Even if he was sitting opposite and chatting, the young man's expression was not cold, and he was quite rich, but in his bones that indifferent temperament was still revealed. The female reporter knew that there could be no intelligent life in the world that didn't care about anything, and this young man's indifference meant that the events he was currently involved in were too far apart for him. This may be my own guess. Is this the case? Let's wait and see. Anyway, this life is equivalent to dying once. So what if I die again with him? Maybe I can't die, and I will see something completely different. Maybe the world. Jia Yan didn't quite understand what the female reporter was thinking, and he didn't need to understand. He only knew that the two sides met by chance, and that he saved the other's life as a reward for the other's loyalty to the forces of the Black Temple. Fortunately, she followed behind and did not use her identity as a reporter to bother or ask any questions. Otherwise, even if she gave the information, Jia Yan would have left him to do things. Let's rest here today. I will take you to solve the problem tomorrow. After Jia Yan learned a few pieces of information about important people, he yawned perfunctorily, found a room, and lay on the bed, feeling extremely free and easy. Don't move at night? The female reporter originally thought that Jia Yan would take advantage of the crowds of people at night to take action, but she did not expect that Jia Yan would not take action at night. Jia Yan ignored her extreme surprise. He was a powerful black god, and it would be a shame if he had to spend a lot of time dealing with traitors. He wanted to take action when there were the most people and the most dangerous time. As for why he didn't do it directly today, it was because he wanted to know more about the situation, otherwise wouldn't it be a bad idea to kill the wrong person? On the entire planet, at least in this city, there was a big movement soon. That night, countless media workers were taken away by the police overnight and questioned whether they had any relationship with the female reporter. Many of them were good friends of the female reporter. But this group of people spoke loudly, indicating that before today, they did not know why the female reporter dared to speak out on important occasions, and various evidence also showed that the female reporter did not have long-standing connections with others, but her own impulsive behavior. After learning the truth, except for a few important people who were not released, most of the irrelevant people were quickly let go. After all, reporters are also considered public figures, and many of the high-ranking officials and rich people whom reporters meet are also of high levels. If they really want to be touched, it might still be troublesome. The city's senior officials and the Xinhe temple, who were dissatisfied with the appearance of the female reporter, were a little surprised after receiving the first-hand information. It was easy to find out the female reporter, but what about the young man who rescued the female reporter? Although the figure of the young man is blurry in several cameras, there is still some image. The real face cannot be seen clearly, so it is not difficult to distinguish that it is the young man. As for this young man, no one knows his identity. It seems that he has good strength. With this strength and being a young man, he should be quite famous in some places. It can't be from aliens, right? These senior officials vaguely thought of something, but quickly gave up the idea. If the geniuses trained by Xinbei Temple were not used to do such a thing. In short, the reporter questioning incident that caused the city to be in a state of panic quickly subsided after being heated up. People's unhappiness can easily disappear when vented online. In reality, they will be warned by their superiors. Everyone understands what happened, and the matter gradually becomes cold-handled. In addition to the pursuit of the female reporter and the young man, which continued to unfold, the whole city seemed to have quickly forgotten what happened yesterday. However, no one expected that the female reporter who was considered to be absconding due to fear of crime would actually show up openly the next day. On the bustling street, the female reporter felt that her legs could no longer move. He was worried and followed closely behind Jia Yan. We really don't have any other plans, so we can just go through like this. That's right. Didn't you give the intelligence to the senior executive? Since the intelligence is true, just go and end the matter. Jia Yan's reply made the female reporter collapse. No, you said you wanted to protect me. Even if you are great, don't forget me. If this goes by, I will definitely die. He always felt that he was cheated by Jia Yan. The young man must be a strong man, but no matter how powerful he is, if he wants to protect others, and he is alone against a large number of strong men in the city, and there may be strong men from the Xinbei Temple, how can he do it? Protect yourself? He is not an invincible master. She really forgot about Jia Yan yesterday, because Jia Yan's temperament became more and more unfathomable, but the response she got was that he was not invincible. It's normal. Jia Yan doesn't want to be regarded as the invincible realm in this world, because it is only at the venerable level. Even though he was treated as a venerable person, he had to scold others. Was he that weak? Throughout the city, surveillance equipment soon discovered their actions, and not long after, the police department with great momentum began to mobilize vigorously. Jia Yan and the others were walking in the troubled area, only a street away from the high-ranking person they wanted to meet first, but here they were surrounded by a large torrent of steel. Little brother, this. The female reporter was pointed at countless guns and was extremely frightened. She seemed to want to cry and cower. She already regretted it in her heart. She didn't know that in order to arrest herself and others, the city's upper echelons would dispatch so many armed police officers. You know, there are also factions in the city, especially regarding the Xinbei Temple. Most of the senior officials are opposed to it, because this planet and the surrounding planets have always been in the arms of the Xinhe Temple. Most people have believed in the Black Temple all their lives, even high-level officials. How could they allow those who defected to the White Temple to roam freely? Perhaps by dispatching these police officers and those who surrendered to the Xinbei Temple, they were taking great risks, and even the maximum force that could be dispatched was that. But this is enough. There are about 100 people. 2 people who disrupted the unity of the city, number X002212, number X002213, put their hands on their heads and surrender immediately, otherwise we will shoot them. Several armed men in the police force gradually approached with their guns raised, saying high-sounding clichés. But Jia Yan just looked at them indifferently and did not do anything to abide by what he said. On the contrary, the female reporter hesitated, wanted to cry, and put her hands above her head. Because the Black God's power is cultivated on this planet, and although the Black God's power is relatively weak, it is very violent. The practitioners often make troubles, so the police officers are quite simple and rough in their work, and sometimes it is easy to do so. Just use force to fight force, and murders are inevitable. So she didn't dare not listen and asked her to hold her head, which almost meant that they were about to open fire. And you, hurry up and squat down. Several police officers pointed their guns at Jia Yan. Jia Yan looked at the frightened female reporter and shook his head helplessly. You are so brave, you say you believe me and you want to follow me on this adventure, I don't know what you think. But she is just an ordinary person. To have such courage shows that her courage is commendable. Jia Yan didn't blame the female reporter. He was willing to take others out. You want me to hold my head, or do you want me to squat down? Jia Yan looked at the several heavily armed police officers who walked in with a smile. Hurry up and squat down with your head in your hands. Those armed men also knew that the young man might not be an easy match, so their expressions became sinister and they stopped approaching, and the weapons in their hands shone brightly. Weapons used against strong men still have quite terrifying power. Once fired, they will create a bloody hole. Strong men with strong body protection abilities can easily be killed in one blow. The female reporter was desperate, but she didn't try to persuade Jia Yan or anything. She knew that this young man was not a fool. He led her to the crowd and appeared openly, so she should have something to rely on. So after squatting down, she just raised her head to observe what the young man would do. How to do it? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2700. Jia Yan didn't do much. Indeed, at least on the surface, Jia Yan did nothing. Puff. While everyone was shocked, the leaders of the several police officers who were aiming their guns at Jia Yan fell directly to the ground the moment they looked at Jia Yan. The police officers around him were frightened and tried to pull the trigger, but they also fell to the ground. One after another, the small group of police officers who approached Jia Yan fell down one after another. Fire, fire. Finally, the commander, who was hiding behind the protective car body, knew that the matter was getting serious and quickly gave the order for the police officers to open fire. You must know that the small team that attacked were the best in the city's police department. Not only were they well equipped with weapons and equipment, but their personal strength was not too bad. There was probably a person with a strength close to that of a star, but they fell to the ground inexplicably. How could the on-site conductor not know that this young man was an absolute master? He broke into cold sweat. Firing may not necessarily kill you, but if you don't fire, you may be doomed. Obsessive. Jia Yan snorted coldly, and at the same time, a large amount of firepower poured in, seeming to smash him into pieces. Everyone present was a helper of the evildoer. Jia Yan didn't think too much and waved his hand directly. He saw the bloody storm appeared and everyone fell to the ground. Dead, all dead. Looking at the scene of corpses scattered everywhere, the female reporter shivered and was a little unbelievable. This was beyond her imagination. So many police officers were killed without even a big battle. The key was that this young man was too ruthless and had no hesitation in killing him. Let's go, you still know how to build, right? Jia Yan ignored the female reporter's creeps, smiled upright, and led the people forward. The female reporter looked back on the past and found that when she looked at this young man now, she had a more peculiar sense of elegance, which was very different from the ordinary young man she thought she was when she first saw him. There was no way, it was impossible for an ordinary young man to kill so many professional armed men at every turn. The more she realized more about the young man, the more silent she became, feeling like she was standing on a high mountain. What? There's something wrong over there? Do you want me to hide for a while? Do you know who I am? Why do you want me to hide from a criminal? Is this how people in your police department do things? Pressure from above? Very good, it seems you are no longer worthy of cooperation. Far away in the office building where Jia Yan's target was located, a middle-aged man answered the phone and soon became angry. He was naturally angry, because he asked people from the police department who he was friends with to deal with the female reporter who almost caused public opinion problems yesterday. Those police departments actually failed, and now the other party showed up in a big way and asked the police department to deal with it. Failed again. He was already deeply suspecting that the people in the police department he had joined forces with were doing this on purpose, and perhaps they might have defected to the Black Temple forces. After putting the phone call on hold, the senior executive felt a little restless. After a moment, he stood up. Although he spoke righteously on the phone and revealed a sense of impossibility of compromise, if he was really so domineering, he would not have chosen to side with the enemy when the planet was oppressed by the Zinbei Temple. This kind of person with the head of a man and two ends of a rat is not that courageous at all. Ask the driver to wait for me in the underground parking space and drive the fastest car. We will leave immediately. Yes. Instructing his secretary to prepare the vehicle, he hurriedly picked up his coat and trotted towards the underground garage. Bang! Suddenly, when he reached half of the floor in the elevator, the entire elevator exploded. A pair of white and tender young hands reached into the elevator and tore the elevator apart. Then the young man led a pale woman out of the elevator. The outside of the elevator flew into the interior of the elevator. You, who are you? What do you want to do? The middle-aged man was strong on the outside but strong on the inside, and he drank a few times with extremely low confidence. The young man looked calmly at the middle-aged man who seemed to be very angry but was actually trembling. He turned around, looked at the female reporter beside him, and asked, "Is this person a member of the capitulation faction?" "Yes, it is." The female reporter's teeth chattered up and down, and she nodded creakingly. She was forcefully pulled by Jia Yan to fly, and she also tore apart the building and stopped the elevator in one breath. This was completely a first experience for him as an ordinary person, and fear was a natural reaction. "Who are you?" "I am a dignified person." The middle-aged man's voice was stern, and he wanted to shout out his identity to survive, but he stopped abruptly in the middle of his words. Because the young man stretched out his palm and pinched his neck easily, as if he didn't want to hear anything. Only then did he shed tears and show regret, but it was already too late. The female reporter was shocked, and the trembling in her heart became even more intense. Only then did she realize that she had spent the whole night with this young man, and what kind of being she had been with. He was so audacious that he dared to kill anyone. Next one, Jia Yan relaxed his hands and flew directly with the female reporter. "Anyway, you have already exposed some of your strength, so let's fly to avoid walking too slowly." At this moment, a large number of police cars and sirens echoed in the city. Countless ordinary people were stunned and didn't know what was happening. Yesterday's incident was widely publicized and attracted the attention of many people. However, due to the good blockade of public opinion, most people did not actually understand the inside story and did not know that the female reporter was raped by a powerful young man. Rescued. The entire city's upper echelons were in chaos. Not only the capitulation faction was in chaos, but also the faction that supported Zinhei Temple was in chaos. Zinbei Temple is not yet in this land of stars, so their threat is not that strong. Many people don't agree with it now, but they just want to be on the wall and want to see the situation before making a statement. Therefore, they don't care about Zinbei Temple at all. Just don't take it seriously. On the contrary, now, a high-level person was killed by the teenager who supported the female reporter. This is a huge hidden danger that directly threatens them as a high-level person. The police department's phone line was overwhelmed with calls for accountability and inquiries. Those surrendering faction kept silent, and even used coercion and inducement to make the top brass of the police department deploy higher-level defensive measures. Those who violently killed the top brass must be killed. Yes, we will definitely eliminate the suspect. The senior police official was sweating profusely as he responded to a question from a senior official. After hanging up the phone, his eyes became nervous and hesitant. He was just a simple-minded person in charge, and he was tactful, so he did not turn to the Zinhei Temple. He still wanted to do so this time, especially after a mysterious young master appeared. He was even more cunning and did not want to give it your all now. But the higher-ups are coming. Let the troops on the city side be dispatched. The police use the lack of manpower as an excuse to try not to have contact with the other party. Click. As soon as he said this, he saw a figure leaving the window of his office, and the owner of this figure seemed to be carrying a female figure. His pores suddenly stood up, his pupils dilated in fear, and cold sweat broke out directly. Because he thought that the owner of this figure was probably the mysterious strong man who killed the local surrender faction in the outside world. Did he think that he was a capitulationist, and then found out that he was not a capitulationist, so he gave up killing? In this way, the words he said on the phone saved his life. "Old, I seem to be a starry sky-level strongman, right? Why didn't you even notice his arrival? Sure enough, this is no ordinary strongman. Fortunately. No, I will continue to express my position and let all the police officers who are chasing him." The department stopped its operations and even offered a convenient door. "I seriously suspect that this person may be a strong man from the higher levels in Zinhei Temple forces." The determination in the police officer's eyes flashed away, and he immediately picked up the phone and dialed some calls. If he didn't do this, he would definitely have trouble sleeping and eating, and he might one day be killed by this strong young man. Damn it, that guy from the police department actually did the opposite of what we asked for. Even though he was vague last time, I thought he would turn to us. I'm afraid it won't work to ask him for help again. In another place, several high-level officials were taking refuge. Everyone was frightened, especially the young man's live broadcast. They were frightened. This young man's strength is unfathomable. Since the attack, it seems that every means used to deal with him has been defeated by him in an unstoppable way. This group of experts was like a thunderbolt, and they no longer had the self-confidence of the city's top leaders, and they quickly gathered in one place, discussing countermeasures. Several topics were mentioned, but none of them were operational. The key point is that they don't know the origin of this young man at all, nor his status, strength, and purpose. They don't even know whether he is really killing the surrenderers. How can they talk about it in a targeted manner? The solution? This group of senior executives felt like they were mourning for their heirs, and everyone was trembling. At this moment, they realized the intimidating power of a truly strong man. It is not that there are no strong people on this planet, but because of the advanced technology, relatively stable society, and too many restrictions on the strong, these high-level officials believe that even if they are not strong enough, they can easily suppress the so-called masters. Now they understand that in the face of real crushing strength, no matter how much power and strategy they have, they are all fleeting. If you dare to act rashly, I will kill you. If you refuse to accept the killing, I will kill your whole family. No matter how much power you use with your fists, you will not be able to stop my killing. This is the majesty of the strong. Let them be cunning, let them be held in high esteem, and if they are targeted, they will die. Talk to this mysterious young master. I believe that even a strong man will have his own demands. If we want to stop surrendering, we can stop it. Just ask him to stop causing trouble. Make trouble. As soon as someone among this group of strong men spoke, they heard the chuckle of a young man echoing outside the door of the house. It was obviously a secret room and completely soundproofed, but this young man's voice appeared in everyone's minds like a sound transmission. Boom! The faces of everyone present suddenly changed. Two powerful city guard level forces whose strength had reached the starry sky level stood up, took out weapons in their hands, and looked coldly outside the secret room. The starry sky class is obviously very powerful, but they are willing to degenerate and sell the city to the Xinhei temple. The virtues of the two of you do not respect your strength, so. Deprivation. The voice of the young man outside the door seemed to be completely unaffected by the two starry sky level powerhouses. When everyone was stunned, he uttered the word deprivation, and then the power of the two starry sky level powerhouses was released. The deflated ball instantly fell from the starry sky level. Starry sky level, heaven level, earth level, ordinary people. The terrifying master, who was originally unparalleled in power, in just a few seconds, turned into a helpless ordinary person under the eyes of everyone in disbelief. What? Impossible, how could my strength be out of control? You, who are you? What kind of ability is this? The two of them were the most shocked. The strength they were proud of was lost inexplicably in an instant, which was even more uncomfortable than killing them. Click. The door to the secret room opened directly from the outside world as if there was no key. Everyone couldn't help but take a few steps back, waiting to watch the young man who led the female reporter in from the door. The young man's face, as seen in the video, is quite ordinary, but at this moment, he seems to have a unique temperament that is hard to look directly at. Of course, the reason that gave him an aura of terror was that the young man had calmly killed a large number of surrender factions in the city with his young face. As if he was stained with a lot of blood, he walked to the center of the secret room, then slowly sat down and looked around at everyone. Female reporters can neither sit nor stand. Any of the high-level officials present were. For her, they were all city high-level officials who were difficult to interview under normal circumstances, but one or two of them were as if they were mourning their concubines, their faces were as pale as paper, and no one dared to tremble. Any sound. She just found it a bit ridiculous. Certain people had been interviewed by her before. At that time, these people were extremely popular and looked like sanctimonious big shots. But now, these big shots are like ordinary people who they say are not worth mentioning, trembling in front of the powerful. How can they dare to say any golden words? It is said that people's butt determines their head. When they speak from the perspective of a big shot, they are really brilliant, but if they are in front of a strong person, they will become an ordinary weak person. No words could come out of my mouth. Okay, now let's talk about who are the leaders of the capitulation faction, and which high-level officials outside the city they have colluded with. Anyone who gives valuable information, I will spare his life. Jia Yan waved, and an unopened can of drink on the table flew into his hand. He opened the can directly and drank. The female reporter wanted to remind you that this drink is exclusively for senior executives, and the price of each can is astonishing. If you drink it like this, it is a waste of money. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2701. But she thought about it and didn't dare to remind her anything. This young man's strength is as terrifying as that of a god or demon, and his status is probably extraordinary. If he orders a drink like this, do he still need to remind himself that it is a valuable item? Maybe people don't like it? My lord, before I answer you, can you tell us first, are you a believer in the Black Temple? Bang. The senior person who spoke fell to the ground softly as soon as he opened his mouth to ask questions. You still can't change your way of thinking that you think you are superior, Jia Yan smiled, and it was obvious that he was the one who took action. Looking around at everyone around him, he waved his hand again. You all sit down, and take this as a warning. If I ask, you answer. If you want to ask me a question, or want to be a guest, don't even think about it. He is a lesson learned from the past. Everyone, including the female reporter, sat down in unison, very neatly and well behaved. No one spoke again, and no one had the slightest thought of asking questions. This young man is an absolute strong man. He doesn't care about their status at all, and he is probably extremely confident. They and other senior officials regard the lives of ordinary people as nothing, and the young man also regards their lives as nothing. He didn't care at all whether he killed them or not. With such fear, who would dare to ask questions and then turn around? You, tell me. Jia Yan casually pointed at the person who seemed to have the highest status among the people. The man felt pained for a moment, but he didn't dare not respond. He was about to stand up again when Jia Yan waved his hand to signal him not to get up, so he quickly gave up the idea. Sir, in fact, the capitulation faction in this city was not initiated by us spontaneously. The core of our leadership comes from the top leaders of the country, and it seems that the capitulation faction has penetrated into the bones. Otherwise, even if we have 10,000 courages, we would not dare to do it ourselves. Express your goodwill to Xinhe Temple. He was right. A mere city exists like gravel on this planet. How could it have the courage to set such a precedent? This is a serious crime of beheading. Really, your information is very important. Whoever is willing to reveal the names of these people behind them, I will spare him whoever tells the most. Jia Yan smiled. He was still cunning and knew how to exploit the other party's fear to get the information he wanted most. I said General Anton, who is at the top of the country, is a staunch capitulator. I also know that the Eagle Feather alien general of the Air Force is also a surrender faction. I also know someone. The female reporter followed Jia Yan, and her face gradually became ugly. She knew that these big figures provided by the city's high-level officials were basically pillars of the entire country, and each of them was highly respected. For example, General N.A. Anton, both his ancestors and himself, are the most important military leaders in the country. Another example is the alien General Ying Fei. He is a bird creature, and their race in the Air Force is responsible for almost half of the combat responsibilities. If all these people surrender, it means that the entire country is in a state of ruin, and it may collapse on its own without the coming of the White Temple. For a moment, the female reporter was filled with grief and anger. I don't believe it. You must be spreading rumors and slanders. These adults are all loyal servants of the people and there is no way they will surrender. When a female reporter speaks rudely to her, senior figures in several big cities would be absolutely furious, and they could make the female reporter live a miserable life with just a few clicks of a finger. But with Jia Yan's support, she is no longer something that these prisoners can handle. Miss, actually the big guys have troubles with big shots. Most of the surrender faction is soldiers, because the troops in our country are no longer suitable for fighting. They know very well that a war between our country and the Xinbei Temple will definitely be a sheep in the tiger's mouth, so that's why I have to surrender. Including us, we also have reasons. Yes, this is to avoid bloody incidents. To tell you the truth, it is not only our country, but also several other major countries. The situation in the Black Temple is gone. What you don't know is that the front line in the battle between the powerful men on a planet, including the top masters of the Xinhe Temple on our planet, all lost their lives. The entire starfield is no longer the territory of the Xinhe Temple. Our planet has evolved so peacefully that it has become extremely harmful to the people. If we adopt a friendly approach, massacres may occur on other planets, and this is the tragedy of the people. The few people were talking to each other, filling in the gaps, and their voices gradually became more and more high-sounding, as if surrendering was the only way to conform to the world and was the absolutely correct thing to do. The female reporter listened, and combined with some of the information she knew, she was quickly stunned. She knew that all this was not alarmist, and might be true. But this group of senior executives not only wanted to move her, but also didn't want to persuade her. The person they wanted to persuade was Jia Yan. This young man is the terrifying and powerful man who holds the power of life and death for them. They were afraid that the young men would accidentally kill Zhongliang, so one of them even pretended to be loyal. I don't care about life and death, and if I don't accept it, I'll kill him. Pudgy. There was a sound that made people's hearts twitch suddenly. Looking in the direction of the sound, they saw the upright man who pretended to be a high-level man who served the country and the people. His head exploded and he fell to the ground. If you say that those high-level officials of the country are willing to degenerate for the people, I would still like to believe it. But what are you waiting for, little ants? They are just heinous people who use chicken feathers as arrows. They should be killed. Jia Yan said the final words calmly, but the senior officials around him did not expect that he would be so inconsistent with his words and wanted to kill him even after giving the information. He immediately ran around, and one person even rushed towards the female reporter, seeming to threaten her. Rock. But in front of Jia Yan, what use are these methods? After a while, the female reporter's eyes blurred. All the senior executives fell to the ground, and they couldn't even tell why they were dead. She looked fearfully at the young man who seemed to have never moved a hand and whose clothes were spotless. She no longer looked at ordinary teenagers. Instead, his heart was in a state of confusion, and he felt that he was facing a big demon, a murderer like a hemp. For ordinary people, no matter how kind the murderer is to them, they will still have knots in their hearts. Even if they know that the other person will not do anything to them, they will never be able to deal with it calmly. I promised to spare them all, but the one who just attacked you was the one who named you the most. I can only say that he was unlucky. Jia Yan explained his actions indifferently. Whether the female reporter listened or not was not his problem. He looked at the female reporter who had been escorted by him for a long time. This female reporter's beautiful face was already pale, and she was obviously frightened. How about it, now you know my methods and capabilities, do you still want to follow me? Tell me beforehand, what will happen next will be even bigger. Although your life is unlikely to be in danger if you follow me, it may cause you don't regret it if you can't live a normal life on this planet in the future. The two sides really met by chance. Jia Yan thought that it was best to stop here. After all, she was just an ordinary girl. If she went deeper into this matter, it might affect her life. The female reporter shook her head, and when she looked up again, her eyes became firm. I still want to follow you. I said, I am a reporter, I want to expose all this, and I also want to see if you can turn things around. Besides, we reporters are already in a lot of troubles and dangers. If I'm afraid of this, I won't be a reporter. Jia Yan smiled slightly. Since she is obsessed with it, just follow her. Anyway, there is really no danger to her life. Outside the secret hiding place, it was as if countless police forces and troops stationed in the city had sensed the situation here and swarmed in like ants, surrounding the entire secret place. They only know that there are desperados who have locked up several key high-level officials in the city here, and a strong attack is likely to result in the death of the high-level officials. During the investigation and confrontation, I saw the silhouette of a person disappearing above the building. Many people couldn't even see the shadow clearly and lost track of the target. Not to mention the many armed forces shouting and screaming, how to get in, and how to discover the deaths of several high-level officials in the city. It can only be said that the female reporter was stunned and was once again led by Jia Yan, soaring into the sky. At this time, she looked at the scene of lightning and flint flying away behind her, and then looked at the young man leading her flying in front of her. What he said is probably true. Does he have the ability to lead himself to eliminate all obstacles along the way? Shaking her head, the female reporter felt distressed. In fact, until now, she no longer understands what this young man wants. Bring order to chaos? Let the entire planet stop accepting the Xinbei temple? But even if this was done, what could happen? The threat from the Xinbei temple was there. If it hadn't been for the gradual pressure from the Xinbei temple, how could those famous and impartial high-level officials in the country choose to surrender secretly? Could it be? The female reporter thought of something. Could it be that this young man, in addition to trying to correct the chaos and restore society to be dominated by the Xinbei temple, also wanted to go to the front line to deal with the forces of the Xinbei temple? This is impossible. No matter how strong the boy is, it is still unrealistic to deal with Xinbei temple. That is the power of the God of creation. It is said that in every corner of the world, there is the power of the Xinbei temple, and the Xinbei temple has completely overwhelmed the power of the Xinbei temple. The energy of both sides, the number of strong people, and the maturity of development, are not at the same level at all. No matter how strong the young man is on his own, can he still be stronger than the endless stream of masters from the Xinbei temple? Even if he is in the invincible state, what about the human sea tactics used by Xinbei temple? For a moment, the female reporter used her brain and thought a lot, but she couldn't think of what the young man should do to save the crisis. Arrive. Suddenly, when the female reporter was in a state of confusion and thinking a lot of random thoughts, she felt her body slow down steadily. Following the young man's gaze, the female reporter was once again stunned. She discovered that in the few minutes she was lost in thought, the young man actually led her to the most iconic building in the country, the National Conference Hall. Near the National Conference Hall is the residence of the country's real high-level officials and the capital. But the problem is that their country is not that small. The city where I and others were just now is at least more than 1,000 kilometers away from the capital. How many minutes can we get there? How did you do it? The female reporter was a little lost, but Jia Yan had no objections. To him, rushing to the capital of the country in an instant would not be a big deal if he had not considered that the female reporter's body could not bear it. Most of those generals and other surrender factions live in the official residence over there, right? Let's go down. The female reporter no longer wanted to stop anything, she just followed Jia Yan's gaze and nodded. The two sides were exposed to the gazes of the entire capital's powerful men, and flew downwards like a rainbow. Who dares to break into the official residence of our country's capital? Audacious in the extreme. Immediately below, the momentum of several powerful men came to press them. This capital is different from the city just now. The strongest ones have even reached the level close to the venerable. For ordinary masters, this level has reached its peak and is close to the existence of the invincible powerhouse in the starry sky. But even so, there was a starry sky peak master who was close to the venerable level who came forward, and his momentum did not affect the approaching Jia Yan at all. Little tricks. Jia Yan smiled, and another black energy that belonged only to him bloomed from his body. This energy directly pressed back and reached the main body of these auras. The pressure inside the official residence and other places in the capital disappeared instantly, and several bloody sounds could be heard everywhere. Obviously, these masters suffered a lot against Jia Yan and could not be their opponents. Jia Yan used his tactics and after a commanding performance, he calmly descended again. Then he came to the path inside the official residence, surrounded by villa-like buildings. They were not all very big, but they were built quite solidly and steadily, and were guarded by guards. Shot. There were already groups of soldiers waiting on the road, and they opened fire without saying much when they met. For outsiders who forcibly break into the official residence of a country's top officials, these soldiers cannot reason with you and kill them directly to prevent the top officials from being threatened. The sound of gunfire resounded, and people in the entire capital heard these thrilling sounds. Countless people quickly woke up from their daze, and then felt deep panic in their hearts. This is a national capital, and the sounds of battle here represent big events. Maybe something big happened that would overturn their country. Countless people looked at the official residence where gunfire was ringing. After seeing the direction, many people were stunned, because something happened here, which meant that the matter was serious. After the gunfire, just like the previous scene when Jia Yan faced guns in the small town, even if the soldiers inside these official residences had more advanced weapons, it was impossible to cause any harm to him. Even the shivering female reporter was not injured at all. After the smoke and dust passed, the soldiers' eyes showed hesitation. Probably they never thought that there would be strong people in Chiyuan who were not afraid of their attacks. Let the capitulationists living here come out. Come out now, you still have a way to survive, otherwise you will die. Jia Yan didn't go to each house to look for someone, he just yelled in a calm voice so that everyone in the entire official residence community could hear. The address of the latest chapter of Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky. Read the full text of Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito at /read/1783/ Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito text download address. Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky mobile phone reading /read/1783/. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click collection below to record this reading, chapter 2648, searching for senior leaders of the capitulation faction. Come to Kidian to subscribe, reading record, and you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support.